Uh-huh.
All right, so today is what many people are expecting is going to be the last day of lockdown. Shock.
Expectations.
And especially if what we are seeing on social media is anything to go by. If the expectation is that, now we are going to go out and party. Same thing we have seen all over the world. In Florida, they were told, okay, just come out.
Sure.
Everybody went to the beach. It appears the same kind of feeling that Kenyans have, that if you just told, all right, go out, everybody will either go to the pub, go to the church,
Folks
go
are
up
lining
country, go and visit places. It's going to be like a festive season this weekend. I hope the president does his announcement at 9 p.m.
So people are waiting,
on
anticipatory,
Saturday, and they go nowhere.
You're going nowhere.
9 p.m.
Better believe that people are planning and waiting and hoping that it opens up and so they can go out and be crazy. That is what people are hoping. But fortunately, that is not going to happen.
Because the cases are still increasing.
They are.
What's our new tally?
Okay, so as the world opens up, or the world is trying to open up, now looking at what's happening specifically in Kenya, so an increase of numbers. But I mean, before we just go to those particular details, it was seen or said that there's all this speculation. Speculation is rife about what is going to be said tomorrow, what exactly is going to happen. But I think it was very interesting that the CS Ministry of Health said, nobody said anything. All of these things that you guys are saying so far, nobody has said anything.
Of course. We know nobody has said anything. We're waiting for tomorrow.
We're waiting for tomorrow.
For somebody
People
to say
have
something.
made decisions, however. All right, so Kenya's cases, 2,340 with an increased number. One up from the day before, so 124.
So we've moved from 123 to 124.
To 124. Let's see what today does.
All right.
So 2,340 cases in Kenya and 78 deaths. And unfortunately, I think we've had a death every day for the last, at least a death every day for the last 3 days. And so it's a bit worrying, but this is it. Numbers are increasing. Still testing is a bit low in Kenya, but maybe we'll get some insights today in terms of how that might change.
Hey, okay. But, the testing is still a bit low, but now the number of new cases for the same number of tests is
higher.
Increasing. Yeah.
And also remembering that this is targeted testing that's taking place now, vis-a-vis testing for those individuals who are in quarantine. So it would be that if there was more testing happening, that obviously there would be higher numbers in Kenya.
Hey, okay. Some are testing positive and then testing negative.
Yes.
We'll be looking at that story. There's a puzzle of an inmate in Embu, an inmate at the Embu prison who is said to have tested positive for COVID-19 on Thursday last week, but has tested negative upon further tests. So, we'll be looking at
there's
those
that
stories.
mystery surrounding
There
that.
is everything like that. Globally, how are we looking?
All right, so globally the numbers are at 6,698,615, with almost 400,000 deaths now. Almost 50% of the caseload, of the global caseload, are recovered cases. So that continues to be a good thing to look at. The US is very close to 2 million, 1,924,051 cases with 110,000 deaths. Still, yesterday, where were we? With about 109,000 deaths. The deaths in the US yesterday were about 1,100, just a little bit over that. There's not much talk about the testing that's going on in the US right now because of the fact that the protests and everything seems to have taken over. And that's what everybody's talking about for 24 hours. It seems that COVID has been put on ice.
Yep.
But still, infections continue to happen. Now, maybe the testing is not as rigorous as it was. We don't know.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it isn't. And maybe the cases are reducing. We don't know. But we'll wait and see.
Hey, okay. after USA? Which one is second highest?
Brazil has crossed the 600,000 mark. Yesterday they had not. And we said that we're probably going to see about 30,000 cases by the time 24 hours has rolled over. And that is exactly what happened. 615,870 cases in Brazil now with 34,000 deaths. All right. Still rapidly increasing, but nothing has been reported in the last 6 hours. Mexico, however, is a totally different case. 105,680 cases in Mexico within the last 6 hours, 4,442 cases with 816 deaths since midnight GMT.
And how many, what's the total death toll in Mexico?
12,545. So they're well over 10% now in terms of deaths vis-a-vis the caseload in Mexico, and the numbers continue to rise. Now, it would not be so worrying for Mexico if the deaths were not as high as they are right now, and if we were not seeing so many deaths compared to the number of cases that is being found. Because look at this now, 404,442. If we were at about 10%, we'd be looking about maybe 400 deaths. But we're looking at double that. So 20% of the cases that have been recorded in the last 6 hours are deaths. So that's quite something to look at.
Quite something, yes.
Yeah, it's I don't know, but it's rising, and it looks like what happened in Italy about 2 months ago is what is happening in Mexico now.
It's going now to Central and Southern America.
Yeah. It is. Because if you want to look at the other countries whereby red flags, Bolivia with 607 cases in the last 6 hours with 15 deaths, right? Not as high, but still. Guatemala, 394 with 15 deaths. Honduras, 190 with 9 deaths. And these are countries just in the same area. El Salvador, still the same thing. Haiti now being ramped up, where Haiti about a week ago had about 890 deaths cases. Now they have 2,640. So this is what we're looking at now.
It'll be interesting, I think, when we come out of the break after looking at weather. You tell us how things are happening in the other big countries. India, and then our southern Indian Ocean countries, Australia, New Zealand was happening around there. It would be nice to know. Like India went on lockdown a long time ago, but India is not actually featuring here in terms of. But what's the case in terms of what numbers do they have? How many tests have they conducted so far? Because when you start talking about reopening, it's among the countries that also we may be looking at Australia as well and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out what's going on. What's going on? And also in the Middle East.
We've not looked at them for a bit.
Yeah. What's happening in the Middle East? Okay. 18 minutes after 6 o'clock. This is The Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. In the room is Nduoko and Eric Latif. Our live stream is up, www.spicefm.co.ke and SpiceFM KE on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. We take a look at the weather and then start the conversation looking at newspaper headlines as we continue looking at how COVID is spreading around the world and the numbers from around the world. Good morning.
.24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
All right, let's look at what it looks like this Friday morning in Nairobi. Clear skies and a beautiful sunset, if you want to look at it. 13 degrees is what we are at currently. Highs of 26. Oh, did I say sunset? I meant sunrise. Highs of 26 and lows of 12. Nyeri at 13 degrees is partly cloudy. We'll see some rains in the afternoon with highs of 24. And in Nakuru at 13 degrees as well. It's going to be a wet afternoon with highs of 25. Eldoret, mostly cloudy this morning and entering into thunderstorms quite early with highs of 22 and lows of 13. Kisumu, mostly cloudy this morning. Rain showers in the afternoon, highs of 28 and lows of 19 going well into the weekend. Kakamega follows suit with a wet weekend in store. Highs of 26 and lows of the current 16. Malindi at mostly cloudy conditions today, highs of 26, or rather highs of 29, and cloudy conditions later on in the day, opening up to a chance of rain throughout Saturday and Sunday. In Mombasa at 26 degrees, we'll see highs of 29 and lows of 24 and mostly cloudy conditions. Kampala, as we step into East Africa, is at 18 degrees and mostly cloudy. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 17. Taking a look into Dar es Salaam at 24 degrees, we'll see highs of 31 and lows of 23, and it'll be mostly partly cloudy throughout today. All right, let's go south and look into Johannesburg. We're at 6 degrees. It'll be clear skies and sunny conditions all through the day with highs of 19 and coming down to a chilly low of 4. Lagos at 26 degrees will be clear skies for most of the day, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Let's take a look into Paris in France at 12 degrees. It's clear skies all through, but that'll change later on as they go into some wet patterns rather, highs of 18 and lows of 12. And in London at 12 degrees, it's mostly cloudy this morning. It will be a rainy day and into a rainy weekend. In the United Kingdom, highs of 16 and lows of 7, and we'll finish it off in New York. We're still approaching midnight at 24 degrees. It's a warm day in the Big Apple, and we will see rain showers through till the weekend. Highs of 29 and lows of 20.
After 6, this is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Let me tell you today's proverb. It's from Eritrea. If you hear a madman talking, wait for a minute, and you'll soon hear what makes people think that he's mad. If you hear a madman talking, wait for a minute. You'll soon hear what makes people think that he's mad. So basically what we're being told here is don't always believe the negatives you hear about people. Purpose to find out for yourself. Don't just believe when people say, oh, this person is mad. Just wait. Listen to him. And get to hear, why do people say that Nduoko is mad?
It might make sense to you. I knew you just had to put my name in there, but it's okay. I'll find a way to get you. You don't worry.
Then in the end, when you hear her speak, you'll be like, but she's not mad.
Just put together this one.
Yeah, this is a completely... she's got everything. She's a full dozen.
Why, thank you so much for that validation this morning.
So, have you found the figures, or shall we tell us as we go on? Well, you can tell us as we go on. I mean, we're having a COVID conversation today. Yes, as we wait for the president tomorrow to reopen the economy and tell people what to do, we will be looking at what is happening
around the
in
world.
Other parts of the world.
Okay, so if we do look at India right now, 20% of India's cases are in Mumbai, okay? But the tests have been frozen at 4,000 a day for the entire month of May. They've not gone beyond this number of testing for the entire country. So if we just look at the specific city of Mumbai, which is one of the most populated on the Indian subcontinent, the city alone has a capacity to carry out 10,000 tests every day, but they're not doing this. And they've said they've kept their numbers at that 4,000 every day.
Why?
This is the thing. It cannot be justified. It cannot be explained. They don't understand why. Everywhere else has increased their capacity. There's some much smaller cities that have increased their testing to 1,500 per day, much smaller in terms of size and in terms of ability and capacity, about 10 to 20%, but they've increased. And I think we see now what has happened around in a lot of other countries is that, I don't know if we want to call it testing apathy, whereby, okay, so we can do this, let's just do this and not anymore. If we want to look at the numbers that India does have, in total, it is quite high, and it has increased over time. 226,713 cases with 6,363 deaths. We understand, though, that we're dealing with a population of 1,300,000,000, right? So yes, still well under. In terms of percentage, well under 10%.
6,300 deaths attributed to COVID.
Yes.
In India.
Yes.
Right? 12,500 deaths attributed to COVID in Mexico. The number of cases in Brazil, 600,000. Well, yes. Brazil with a population of 300,000 people.
Brazil with a population of 212 million.
Oh, 200, yes. Not 1,000, yes. 212 million people has 600,000 cases. India with a population of a
1.3 billion.
226,000 cases.
Yes.
Something is...
something.
There's a story.
Yes.
Australia?
Okay, so if we want to look at Australia, now with much less in terms of infections and how they've been able to deal with it. Just give me a minute there. Australia, with a population of 25 million, Australia has 7,247 cases, and they've had 102 deaths only.
Wait, how many cases?
7,247.
Hey, okay. That's in the entire continent called Australia.
Yes.
7,200 cases.
Yes.
And how many deaths? 1,000?
107.
107 deaths.
Yes. 25 million is their population. Okay. So, I mean, they've also been able to keep it quite low. The interesting thing to look at here is that they're in such close proximity to New Zealand. It's a boat ride away, essentially. And what New Zealand has been able to do, I mean, we're at that place right now where there are articles already coming out in the media that New Zealand is COVID-free. And they're very close to making this announcement in terms of what they have been able to do. I know we'll be looking at those details later. But with a population of 5 million, New Zealand has been able to keep their caseload to 1,504 cases. Only 22 deaths. The total recovered of 1,504 are 1,481. So 19, and nobody else in the last 11 days, they have not received even one case of a new infection.
And the last patient left hospital.
Exactly. So they're about to announce it. They're still being very measured in testing. Testing is, interestingly enough, testing is still continuing, but they've not found anything in the last 2 weeks, and I think they're giving themselves a couple of days to then be able to announce, and it's likely that they will be the first in the world to do this. And I think it's interesting that even as they're doing this, their lockdown measures, it's not just, okay, fantastic, everybody out at once. It's measured, it's staggered. There are certain things that they're going to do, which we'll be looking at later.
Yeah.
But even with that, they're still being extremely careful. And their prime minister has been, the way in which she has led this troop has been fantastic, I think.
She's done a good job.
Yes, she has.
She's done a very good job at managing this. It's bizarre, this COVID. I mean, in how it's behaving in some countries and in others. In some countries, it goes and just catches off like wildfire. Now, look at Brazil and Mexico and the others in Southern America and Central America. What's happening is just whoop.
In the last 1 week, literally.
Yeah, it just blows up. And people are dying and dying and dying. In other countries, the cases are low. Although we also must consider the speed at which those countries started instituting the measures. Like India, from the very beginning, they decided we are going to close down, we are going to do this, we are going to restrict movement. It impacted, of course, very many of the low-income people.
Yeah.
And we saw millions of people trying to walk home after the lockdowns in the major cities because of the impact it was going to have. But still, looking at the numbers and looking at the people who have who have died directly as a result of COVID-19, 6,300 people in India, it is a commendable thing to say that that whole country, you've been able to contain this thing.
Oh, sure.
In a place that has a population. I mean, it's densely populated. We're talking about cities that are densely populated, towns that are densely populated.
The country with the next, in terms of population, is the United States, with 330 million. Okay, if you want to look in, not in terms of how many people they have domiciled in the country, because of course China has more than India. However, look at the United States with 330 million people, has 1,924,051 cases. So, I mean, if you want to do a comparison with that and look at the cases that India has, even if you want to look at the cases that China has, vis-a-vis their population, something really went amiss in the United States. I mean, it just has been going crazy and it continues to rise. So,
this is quite interesting. Keep it right here. We'll be coming back to this story of COVID-19 and what's happening in other parts of the world, and trying to look at what we are seeing in Africa, what we expect the president to and the government to announce in coming days, when the government has signaled that it wants to start reopening some sectors of the economy. Are they going to do it all once at a go, or are they going to have it staggered? This is a conversation that we must have this morning. But shortly, we will start looking at newspaper headlines, what's been covered on all the newspapers. Good morning. It's 28 minutes to 7.
all right, doesn't look too crazy so far this Friday morning. We do know that it's likely that some folks will be trying to get out of the city. And in about half an hour, we'll be able to see exactly what that looks like. But for now, it looks pretty good in most parts of Nairobi today. Not much traffic, and I know that people are getting ready and wired for the weekend. However, for now, it looks that you'll be able to get where you're going without much drama. And like I said, we'll look in about 20 minutes or so, we'll take a look at what the roads may look like. But I don't think anybody's having a significant headache over that right now. Remember, you can get in touch with us, Spice FMKE on Twitter. Let's see what may change or what may develop as we go along. But for now, as we keep an eye on the roads, you'll do pretty well. I think so.
Spice up your life.
The standard. That is quite bizarre. Is there a serial killer in the city? Police are probing the killing of women. We will be talking about that later on, but the headline in the standard, retreat or surrender for Ruto. Changing fortunes, the DP's troops are on the back foot following heavy political shelling from the president and his allies, and Ruto's response or lack of it has raised eyebrows. His troops say it's just a change of tack. Senator Murkomen, we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. Bahati MP Kibani Gujiri, our support for the DP is intact. We have taken a retreat to support the president's legacy. Former CS Rashid Echesa, the DP is the general. We have been fighting for him. I cannot understand how he can abandon his troops. Remember, this was covered also in yesterday's paper, where Rashid Echesa is basically saying he does not understand why the DP is sitting there quiet as his people are being shelled, so to speak, left, right, and center. So, is it a tactical retreat or is it surrender? I guess we go with
surrender. What are you going to do? You're going to go with retreat.
Retreat.
Retreat signals that
You're gonna emerge.
you'll be back, and
Yes.
that you have a strategy in place.
Yes.
I do actually. You know what? As I think about it, it would be
You don't have
it would be political suicide not to have something up your sleeve. If you're just going to take this lying down like a dog who just says, all right, well, this is the treat that I've been given, then in terms of politics, then you're done.
yeah.
We'll see you out the door and,
And
give
that's
you the wave, and
that's
that's it.
completely impossible to imagine of the DP. So definitely this is a retreat.
I think his silence indicates something as well.
Yeah. If it was surrender, then there'd be a complete direct word coming from him saying, you know what, I'm very sorry for what I've done. Surrender is basically bend the knee. Bend the knee. And you come here and apologize as well. We'd be seeing those kind of statements coming from him. We realize that we erred and we apologize and we are now firmly behind you. But this is not it. So this, to me, is a tactical surrender. Now, on the other side of the pond, there's the big two, and this is Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, the leaders of Ford Kenya and Amani National Congress. There's a Western supremacy battle that has Raila Odinga's shadow looming large, and CS Wamalo and Governor Oparanya are seeking to stamp their authority as the new Luya spokespersons in a titanic battle to dethrone the political heavyweights Mudavadi and Wetangula. The big fight has begun. Who will be the victor? And they have taken the battle home. These two leaders that we're talking about, the CS and the governor, held a meeting. They have been holding meetings with Luya elders and seeking blessings, essentially giving an exit notice to the current regional kingpins. This is after Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula are still battling the ongoing coups, with Wetangula ousted from his own party, and Mudavadi has been replaced as the Luya spokesperson.
Are you surprised?
Well, this is something that happens all the time. I mean, it goes in, comes in, goes out. And if we talk about Wetangula himself, page 9 of the Standard says Wetangula suffers a big blow in Ford Kenya fight because Wafula Wamunyinyi's team has been told that if they correct some anomalies, then they will be recognized as the new party leaders. This is the Registrar of Political Parties who's dealt a blow to embattled Ford Kenya party leader Wetangula, saying his convened National Executive Council did not meet the quorum. So basically, Wetangula did not have enough people on his side to constitute a quorum of the National Executive Council. But Kandui MP Wafula Wamunyinyi's team are just required to rectify the anomaly observed in Form PP7, where a member who was not authorized to sign the document signed it. So, save for this form, Wamunyinyi's faction have to address the issue highlighted by the registrar, and they will be in control of this party. That's it. That's all they need to do. This person who went and signed the form, and
that's all.
Now is the reason why we do not have control of this party. Let's retreat. They can even call that meeting again today and say our faction has met today again in the absence of so and so. Who should not have signed.
This is what we are doing.
And now they have signed. And please, Madam Anderito, can you recognize Mr. Wafula Wamunyinyi as the new leader of the Ford Kenya party? And this will happen. And story itakuwa imeisha.
Woes, and more woes. It seems that this is what people are suffering from.
Political silly season
never
ends in this country.
The crazies are out.
It never ends because still, we thought we can just finish all these politics and now go into matters of national importance. Okay. There's a gentleman called Aden Duale, and there's a gentleman called Kanini Kega, Kasmol Kagud. So, Majority Leader Aden Duale and his nemesis Kieni MP Kanini Kega were yesterday exchanging bitter words over a plot to oust the Garissa Township MP from the Majority Leader's position. At his KICC office, Kega declined to give to the media the list of legislators who had endorsed Duale's removal, but maintained that he had surpassed the 108 simple majority required, saying 120 MPs had signed to support the no-confidence cause. Kega is saying that he'd only submit the signed petition to Jubilee Party leader, the leadership, who he says will make the determination on whether to remove Duale from the position. Yeah, but Duale came out fighting, pouring cold water on the Kieni MP's bid, which he termed as unprocedural and against the set laws required for the removal of a majority leader. He says, according to the standing orders of the National Assembly, the majority leader can only be removed after a PG meeting where the majority of the party's legislators support the bid.
So it's possible that this will happen. There was a PG meeting a couple of days ago. This did not happen then. His position was retained. Now, we only saw the clamor for this after this PG meeting.
Yep.
In terms of seeking for signatures and such.
Yep.
So whoever says that you can only call one PG meeting per week? Nobody said that. Another PG meeting can be called. Look. He's making it seem as though a PG meeting will never be called for the next 12 years. Look, or the next 12 months, rather. Somebody can decide today, PG meeting, Monday.
Happen.
8 o'clock,
Let's go.
Move. So the way we see anything can happen, they must also come to this realization. And obviously, you know, once fear kicks in, there's so many things then that would come out of one's mouth. And I think this is what we see here. I mean, just yesterday, we saw him surrounded by his ilk and people who, I mean, from Mr. Haji to
the leadership
of this particular geographical area
of Garissa,
right? Well,
business leaders and political leaders and community leaders
standing with him in support.
Yeah.
So by the time you start,
our man is being targeted.
Surely, by the time you start doing that, the fellow is a bit rattled.
He's feeling it.
Yes, he is.
He's feeling the heat.
So saying that all these things cannot happen unless a PG meeting is called, PG meeting can be called very, very fast.
Now that we are left to be trying to understand what the president is up to, you know, in every statement that comes out of State House now as well, when he comes out and says, there shall be cessation of movement within Nairobi. Remember? And there was a whole conversation of...
For days, people didn't know, what does that mean?
What does the president mean? So does he say we cannot get out of our houses if we are within Nairobi? Does he say that we cannot leave Nairobi? Remember? Just because of the use of the word within.
Within.
And not being very clear. So that raised huge debate. The day before yesterday, there was this other statement. This is... how the structure of government will look like. Executive Order number 1 of 2020. Hey, what does it mean?
Everybody's in my house.
So we no longer have the presidency. Now we have the executive office of the president. So does this mean that Ruto has been, demoted? Does this mean that he has been whittled down? Does it mean that he has no power? Does it mean that now Ruto is just a department, a corner, a small office somewhere next to the boardroom of the big office? What does this mean? We're left to try and translate what the intention is. Sometimes I look at these things and I say, it's deliberate.
To make all of you have a conversation about what really might be as I continue whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
So you sit there, you come up with a theory, discuss it for a while, you're busy. Meanwhile, the days are going, right?
Yep.
Time
and at the
is
same
ticking.
time, what you guys decide, that's what will be. So
that's what you've decided, that's what it is. Okay.
That's what it is. That Ruto has now been demoted. Sawa.
It's okay.
That's what it is.
You've decided that he cannot hire, he cannot fire.
Fine.
Okay. Whether he could or he couldn't before, not an issue.
Nothing.
It's okay. You just go ahead and think that way. So that I'll be the one making all the decisions. That's what you've decided it's going to be?
Okay.
No problem. You've decided that now Nairobi will be governed by me and me alone?
It's okay.
It's okay. That's what you've decided. No problem. Me? I've told you.
Me, I've told you what I've said.
Said.
I've said what I've said, okay?
So,
if you choose to translate it in whatever way, it's okay. That's what it shall be. So
and
be
we
it.
move on. Meanwhile, days
So
are
be it.
moving.
Look at what happened in the PG, all right? It was very clear. And in fact, even the Speaker of the National Assembly has already communicated to the members. I have received communication from the party that these two members are no longer in party leadership. The Deputy Leader of the Majority and the Whip of the Majority. Those two. Nothing has been said about the Leader of the Majority in the National Assembly, Aden Duale. So people who are coming out of that meeting, some of them are saying, you know what?
We expected this.
The president said that in 2 weeks' time we shall review. There are those that said this matter was not discussed. The issue of Duale has survived. So it's left like that in limbo. Now we're seeing Kanini Kega rushing, trying to get signatures, what exactly is happening? Why didn't it happen on that day at the PG? And basically you come and decide.
Is there another plan in place?
We want Duale out.
Yeah.
It's very clear. We wanted the Senate Deputy Speaker out. We wanted Senate Majority Leader out. We wanted even the committee chairpersons and the vice chairpersons. They have already received their letters telling them you are no longer going to be the chair or the deputy chair of this committee. They have received. So Duale, why do we have some gray areas here and there? Intentional. What do you guys, what are you deciding? Are you deciding that Duale stays? Fine. Are you deciding that Duale goes? Fine. So be it.
Meanwhile, and I'm going to say it again, time is going.
Time goes on.
Yes, time is going. Other things are happening. As you're sitting here trying to figure out what is going on, time is ticking away.
Keep yourselves busy.
Oh, that could be it. Let me keep you guys busy. Trying to figure out what this thing is that I have said, over there, figuring it out. While I'm over here getting some other things done.
Yep.
And you will see that you will see later. If you don't know that you don't know,
You will not know. This is it. I think politically, we are trying to read too much into things that should be very clear. And it's very deliberate when the message is not clear. When it does not come out clearly that this is what I mean, then it's very deliberate.
that's a message unto itself.
That's a message by itself, already telling you, you know what, it's not important. It's not important. You make it important, shauri yako, you waste your time. Spend your time. If you see a madman speaking, just keep quiet and listen.
And listen to what
And you'll understand
that he's maybe not mad.
why people are saying that he's mad.
Okay.
Now let's move to
important national issues.
Yes.
Right. Overwhelmed soon. You'll nurse coronavirus at home. This is the front page of the Daily Nation. Containment strategy fails. 3 months into the battle with coronavirus and rise in daily new infections, Kenyatta, Bagathi, and KU holding facilities are filled up. Ministry of Health hints at the possible. Why are you laughing? Did you expect it's Friday? Filled up. The Ministry of Health hints at the possibility of releasing most of its asymptomatic patients for home-based care. But this would lead to an explosion in infections. Yeah.
why?
Let's look at the meat of the
Because
story.
people will not sit at home.
Shall we? Now, the government is seemingly overwhelmed by the increasing numbers of COVID cases in the country. 1. 2. This was made clear yesterday when Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said hospitals will be discharging COVID-19 patients to go and recuperate at home, hence
Finally.
passing the battle to individuals.
Finally.
Kagwe said isolation facilities are full. And since 80% of the patients in various hospitals are asymptomatic, they may be managed from home. We figured this out a while ago. Perhaps they should have listened. What this means, however, is that many people who are in various isolation facilities will be released to be taken care of at home. Now, taken care of at home by yourself, taken care of at home with
You're
a government-appointed
asymptomatic anyway.
nurse. So what are we taking care of? I quote, if this is implemented, it would free our health facilities from congestion. We're looking into developing home-based and community care, provided that it's in accordance with the World Health Organization protocols, which we're currently reviewing and domesticating in line with our situation. Already, the designated national COVID-19 hospitals are overflowing with both ailing and asymptomatic patients. Kagwe mentioned that Kenyatta National Hospital and Bagathi Hospital unit under KNH were already full to capacity, meaning no more patients, even those who may need care, will get a bed at any of these facilities.
Why must it be in hospital? First of all, this is a dormitory service that we are offering these people. Okay? Let's just be clear. They are asymptomatic. That means that there's no round of doctors coming to give them medicine, injection by nurses, or
Yes.
umekunywa dawa ya leo unajisikiaje. There's absolutely nothing. This person is waking up when we're seeing videos
They're eating.
coming out of KU.
Yeah.
These guys are just,
Eating.
and exercising.
Yeah.
And they're happy. And they're saying, well, we're fighting this COVID. We're making sure that it does not take us down. It's good attitude by the people in KU, especially those youth that have come from Kibra and the other places. Very good attitude. But first of all, I'm not really buying this story of they are full. We can move them. We can start taking them into the other places that we've been holding people in quarantine.
I believe that they're full. And
They're full, yes.
I believe
but
that
it's
they're
not
full.
that we have run out of capacity. We have not run out of bed space. We can
In
take
the
them
beginning,
to
when they were
Lenana.
doing this testing, no, Eric, I honestly believe a lot of these people who were tested and a lot of the people then who were found and brought into these quarantine centers were done as a result of contact tracing.
Yes.
Now, if you're able to trace somebody to a particular area, that means you either found them at home or you found them in a place of, most likely you found them at home.
Yep.
And this is what we're saying at
So
that point.
you know they're
should have
home.
You should have left them at home. And by the time you were doing this contact tracing, you were able to tell, right, whether they were asymptomatic or not. You could tell if they were suffering, if they were in a critical condition, if they had any of the symptoms. Most times you would do the screening, you would take the temperature, you would do whatnot, and you would not be able to get any of the symptoms until you did the actual test to find out whether this person was positive or not. That meant before they got into the facility, you already knew if they were asymptomatic. Now, this protocol that we're talking about now trying to roll out, guess what would have happened if we did it a month ago?
Well,
Whereby the statistics are coming from them. 80%.
I give them the benefit of the doubt.
80%.
On this front, not that it should have taken this long for them to start saying we shall start rolling out home-based care, but for them to say, all right, because we don't know what we're dealing with, number one, and because our primary focus and concern is to reduce the transmission of this disease, we want to test, isolate, treat. So isolation of the people, because of where we are seeing the cases and all, let's look at how to isolate the people from the community. It was important. I think the negative of it was the communication, which made isolation sound punitive. But it was important at that very beginning to say, let's first of all isolate these people and let's see if we can contain the spread of this virus. And let's also see how these people are progressing in terms of, we've tested you positive, you don't look symptomatic. Shall you develop? Shall you not? We are also gathering data from them by having them in this particular place. So I think from the onset, it was okay for them to do that. And then start working already on the protocols of, all right, what shall we do? Shall we get into home-based care? Shall we roll into home-based care? How shall we manage the home-based care? Because you'll have pockets of people. So you have somebody here, somebody in another place. How are we going to manage this? Are we going to have one health officer going to them on a daily basis? Are we going to talk to the Nyumba Kumi and the community leadership? Let's work on the structure.
But still, they have to make that decision now.
Yeah.
This is the thing. If it's
okay
something that they should have done
decision.
then, they still, even now as they're discussing it, they still have to do it now. But then the thing is, this is all being done at the same time whereby you're having more cases per less people tested around the country. The cases that we are seeing now, we were not seeing those cases a month ago when we were also, talking about maybe thinking about home-based care. It was only likely that as the timeline, carried through, that this is what we were going to see, that we were going to see more cases. They were able to predict it at that time. And at that time, they realized that a number of these cases were asymptomatic. At that time is what I'm saying.
Yep.
This home-based care should have been introduced. Because
Would it have worked at that point?
Because
Do you think
they already could predict that they were going to see more cases.
Yeah. But
now
do you think
we're
it would have
getting
worked?
Home-based care.
At that point, yes.
If people were to
You're trying to do everything. You're trying to manage an increased number of testing. You're trying to see where are the new hotspots emerging. So we've identified the hotspots. We've identified the people. We've identified that these are the people that we need to isolate from the rest of the community so that we can stop the spread within this community. If you say that, okay, now you have tested positive, please stay indoors. Would it have worked at that point? Maybe it was important to, okay, let's first of all reduce this so that we don't have a spike. Remove them from the community. Then as you're studying now, we can see very many of our cases are actually asymptomatic. Very many of our cases are not progressing from asymptomatic to serious progression into cases that require intensive care. Now we can say, if we do home-based care, we'll be able to follow up. We'll be able to know that an 80% chance that this person who tested positive will live with the virus and they'll test negative at some point. I don't
because we also have to take into consideration, Eric, that the kind of testing that was being done is different, right? Now we're looking at targeted community testing, whereas a month ago that's not what the case was. Maybe I would be able to say actually it would have worked if you're looking at a large number, not have worked rather, because you're looking at certain numbers of people. Already it was targeted at that point because they were only testing from people who were in quarantine and then testing now their contacts as a result of that. We didn't see this mass community testing a month ago that we are seeing now. This has only been rolled out about 3 weeks now, right? Yeah. So at that time, they already did tell us that of the cases that they have been able to test and find, they were asymptomatic. They knew this at that time. Yeah. They also predicted that we were going to see a higher caseload moving forward. And this is what I'm saying. at that time, if you're already seeing what the trend is, then there should have been a protocol introduced saying, okay, since we're getting more and more numbers of people who are asymptomatic, here is a protocol that we can introduce. Stay home for 14 days, right? Let this virus take its course. And then we now, instead of you coming to us, we come to you and come out and test again. But stay home. But what do we have? Those people who were tested at that time, for the driver, for example, that we spoke to, is still in hospital, right? Those people that were tested at that time are still in hospital. The more and more cases that are currently being tested now have nowhere to go.
Yeah. Now
That's the problem.
Now imagine, exactly. Now imagine if it was the other way around. If, despite what we are seeing, we actually managed to isolate people and contain the virus within Mbagathi, KU, and the other places like Technical University in Mombasa. All right? It's holding very many people. 600 people or more have been isolated from the community at the point when they tested positive.
Right.
And also we know that by that time, they had already come into contact with other people. So we could have traced out of somebody's contacts, we could have traced and gotten in touch with 50%. There's the other 50% that we didn't get in touch with. And that other 50% has led to this growth of transmissions in the community, because that 50% went and continued spreading. Okay? 50% have been removed from the community. Can you imagine if we had not removed anybody from the community?
Oh, I mean, of course, the danger.
We'd be having much
sure.
more numbers. And I think that's why I'm saying it was important for them at that point to say, let's remove, let's isolate, let's isolate, let's isolate. They did it in the bad way in terms of their communication of it. But it was important, I think, for them to have isolated at that point as we get to understand what we are dealing with. Now we know what we are dealing with. Now we know that we are seeing a rising number of cases. The plan by the government initially was come up with many isolation centers. Remember, even Mutahi was saying, let's identify secondary schools. And those secondary schools have been identified. We saw that list countrywide. Let's identify secondary schools in counties which can now become isolation centers. You test positive, you go into this isolation center where you are removed from the community to stop the spread within that community. Now we're seeing, all right, 80% of the people anyway who have this thing positive, they're staying with it for two weeks or so.
And then they're okay.
Then they're okay. So we can basically ask people to stay at home, live with it for 2 weeks, you'll be okay. Even if you transmit it to another person, stay at home, we'll be okay. We'll continue testing, we'll continue seeing. If we are seeing a rise in the number of people who require critical care, we can review.
Okay.
So I think they're right in both cases. In both cases are right from where I sit. But at the same time, I'm saying their reason cannot be it's because the hospitals are full. Their reason should be it's because we are seeing that we can now manage this thing from home.
It shouldn't be, there you go. It shouldn't be that we can't take anymore because of a
You
capacity.
have the capacity
It
to
should be
take-
that you take a decision to say it's actually not necessary for these individuals to come to hospital.
Yeah.
You can actually be taken care of at home.
Yeah.
Because we've already seen many cases who've said, well, we're not being given any medicine. We're just being fed through the day, morning till evening. And then, when we're tested negative, and then another negative within 24 hours, and then we can go home. So, yeah, you might as well do that at home.
They might be getting that communication wrong again this time. Because if you say that now we're not going to take people because our hospitals are full, that's going to be wrong. Good morning. It's 7 o'clock. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, so let's look at some of the major roads in Nairobi and what may be going on here. Not much in terms of traffic this Friday morning. We're going to see some outbound traffic on Thika Road, and that's already happening, heading towards the Blue Post, and that's what's going on now. Surprise, surprise. Let's see also Mombasa Road, a little bit of traffic right around Cabanas and then heading towards General Motors. But after that, it looks like you're going to be okay. Getting into the CBD won't be too painful today, or rather at this hour, and that might change, but we'll be here to let you know. Most parts of the country are experiencing all right traffic, and all right meaning that you're not getting stuck anywhere. If you do get stuck, please let us know so we can let others know. And how can you do that? Spice FMKE on Twitter.
Traffic. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times.
In the room this morning
Ndu
is
Nigerian by birth,
and
Kenyan by...
We are looking at the interesting stories in our newspapers today. What's been covered. We'll come back to this story of isolation centers and the management of COVID-19 now going forward. The signal being given here by the Ministry of Health is that our isolation centers are full and the people who are here anyway do not require to be in hospital. So we are rolling out the home-based care protocol. They came out with a home-based care protocol quite a while back.
Yes.
They say that they're still reviewing it, and we've been advocating for them to start rolling out home-based care in some cases. Look at people review and review their situation, their condition, and see if you can stay at home, just stay at home. You don't need to come to hospital. Now, the messaging that also they're doing may be a problem going forward, but we will talk about that. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I know you talked about there being before we get to this serial killer on the loose. Okay. 2 days buried in the mud, a lucky woman's moving tale, the winning smile of a mudslide survivor. Nancy Piatich was swept away by muddy waters in West Pokot as she reached out to save her brother, but was lucky to survive to tell the story. And just giving light and information into what's really happening. When we look at floods in this country and mudslides as well, third-year university student, and she was rescued more than 48 hours after the tragedy.
Gosh.
She survived the deadly Chesengon landslide on the West Pokot Elgeyo-Marakwet border in April, which claimed more than 20 lives. Yesterday, she recanted how she had a close brush with death. Nancy Piatich, 23, a third-year education student at the Moi University, was discharged from the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, where she was admitted on the 20th of April. And she recalled the fateful day that she was at Chesengon Center. They were running and the mud, can you imagine? You're running and the earth literally is catching up with you. And this is what happened. And buries you. She saw other people go under the mud, but this was not her fate. They started running towards the Marakwet side only to realize that the river had burst its banks and was carrying away houses and debris. It was carrying away houses. How much more you, an individual? So, unfortunately, her last-born brother could not climb up fast enough. And when she reached out to help him, she was rushed or swept downstream. She was shouting his name, asking for his that he be saved. But unfortunately, he was not. She said that she was hit by a stone and passed out. When she regained consciousness, she realized that her hand and heads were above the mud, but the rest of her body was stuck. She tried to reach out for whatever she could and felt a thorny tree and stopped reaching out. She started drifting off that Sunday evening. The following day, more than 48 hours after the tragedy, she heard voices fading in the distance and cried out for help. And this is how she was rescued and taken to hospital. She said it took the hand of God for her and her three brothers to survive the tragedy that saw many people buried in the mud, with some bodies unlikely to ever be recovered. So her brothers made it as well as her. But you can imagine, you're seeing the earth moving and you're seeing individuals
and
moving.
Stuff happening. The story is also on the Standard House, page 3, and where she talks about how rocks and iron sheets were coming for her. I asked God not to let me drown or be crushed by the rolling rocks. Iron sheets swept in my direction, missed my neck by a whisker, and as I dodged them, it chopped off my right ear. Imagine, you're just there, and then a mabati is coming for your neck. You move, and it goes with your right ear. So it basically says that she spent 6 weeks in hospital undergoing a series of surgeries for traumatic brain injury, fractured clavicle, multiple lacerations, hypothermia, psychological trauma. She's gone through so much. She has scars all over her body and she has impaired hearing.
She seems to still be thankful, though.
She is.
Yeah, to
and
be
she
alive.
should be thankful, because this is one of those positive stories. Yesterday we were seeing a story on KTN News which was talking about the community coming together and conducting some ritual to say, I mean, please, we are trying to appease to our gods and tell them, spare us. We have seen serious suffering.
We've seen too much.
Houses have been destroyed. Livelihoods have been lost. There are people who got buried and they have not been recovered. So basically, there are kin who do not know what happened to their kin.
That's true.
It's a very, very, very sad story. But at the same time, it's good to see such a positive story coming out of a place and saying, she survived, and her siblings also survived, and they live to tell the tale.
That's true. According to Rift Valley Regional Coordinator, though, George Natembea, 24 people are still missing following the 20th April tragedy, 8 of whose body parts have been recovered. And
Body
he said,
parts?
yes. And he said that in West Pokot, on the West Pokot side, 3 people, including 2 police officers, lost their lives, while another 4 are still missing. So you can imagine this happened over a month ago, and some people are still to be recovered. But
Yep.
I mean, here is a story of hope that shines a bright light on that situation.
So stories that we ought to keep reminding ourselves, the human beings and their livelihoods and the kind of livelihoods that they are living.
Yeah.
As leaders are holding meetings to oust their colleagues, this is what is happening in the world. There's a story I wanted to tell you before we come into this one for, what's happening to these particular political leaders. Hey, where is it? It's the story of police officers. 6 police officers will be charged over deaths, shootings, and assault of 3 individuals, according to IPOA. Following investigations by IPOA and upon independent review of the cases filed by the DPP, 6 officers will be arrested and arraigned for various serious offences, according to IPOA chairperson Anne Makori. In the statement, she says, an AP officer will be charged with the murder of Coletta Amondi Ouda, a secondary school teacher who was shot during a robbery at Usigu Market in Siaya County. Ouda was shot after one of 2 police officers responding to a burglary incident opened fire at Usigu Market in Siaya. 4 police officers will be charged with assaulting and causing Abdulbrahim Noor grievous harm. Noor sustained a fracture in his leg during an arrest near Gateway Hotel in Garissa. Duncan Diamandiwa will be charged with the murder of a 13-year-old boy, Yasin Moyo. Moyo was shot while at the balcony of his parents' home in Kiamaiko, Nairobi on March 30th. So, at least the good thing is that we can see that there is action being taken.
Yes. Yeah.
That IPOA is active, that the DPP is alive to what's happening in the society, that people who take action shoot just indiscriminately, you will face the consequences of it.
Exactly.
However, I think it's also important to remember what Peter Kema, the executive director of IMLU, was telling us. Let's also take this to the responsibility to the person in charge. Because when you say that police officers reacted to a robbery incident in Usigu Market in Siaya County, and they opened fire to try and, let's assume that they were opening fire to try and shoot the thugs, and then you end up killing a woman, because of that action, you're going to be taken to court. But let's also take that responsibility to the OCS, the officer in charge there. They're no longer called OCS, they have new names. But let's just say the officer in charge of that police station, the one who was commanding that operation, the one who told the officers, respond to this, should also be facing some sort of hearing. And it's important that they are held to account for
absolutely.
everything that they're doing.
That's true.
Yeah. There was a case that I'd also told you about Embu. In Embu, somebody had tested positive for COVID-19, and there is a twist in events that was revealed by Embu Governor Martin Ombora, who says the patient, who is a prison inmate at the Embu prison, was admitted to the Embu Level 5 hospital, and his sample sent to Kemri on Monday, and it turned out negative. He tested negative for COVID-19. In fact, when he was taken to the hospital, his temperature was 36 degrees Celsius. He was very healthy. We call on prison authorities not to rush cases to hospitals, please. So basically, somebody had tested positive in prison. They were rushed to hospital. Then their sample is taken to Kemri. It comes out negative. So,
which one is it?
Yeah. What's the issue? What exactly is what's the issue? Nini? There's a keep asking.
So fine as well in Swahili.
Issue. Nini.
Okay.
I tell you the story now.
Now I want to hear the story.
On the night of April 26th last year, a Friday, a brown, lanky man swaggered out of a nightclub near Nairobi's Odeon Cinema at around 9:45 p.m. In company of a fine damsel, the smiles on their faces, as captured by the club's CCTV cameras, depicted a pair that was headed for a good time. That was the last time that 36-year-old Penina Wairimu, a mother of three, was seen alive. On that evening, Wairimu had walked into the club alone, sat at a dark corner, ordered her favorite drink. A few moments later, the lanky man with darting eyes walked in. The CCTV footage shows him bending over Wairimu for a chat before the pair made the fateful exit. A favorite joint for city revelers seeking to enjoy their drink, complete with Rumba music. The club was at the time reputed a good hunting ground for scarlet women and men seeking wild pleasures. You understand what I'm saying, right?
I get it.
At Githurai 44, Wairimu's neighbors were in panic after she failed to return home. Her children, who were in the house alone, called out for help when the mother failed to show up. Wairimu's eldest daughter is 12, the other 8, and the lastborn is 6. Neighbors stepped in to take care of the children in the hope that the mother would be back. However, 3 days later, she was spotted. After she was spotted at the city bar, they learned from the police of Wairimu's gory murder. Her dismembered body was found dumped at the Dandora dump site. Her other body parts, which included the limbs and torso, were found packed in a sack and dumped along Landis Road in the city centre. Through DNA analysis, the police have managed to piece together Wairimu's body parts. She was a very lively woman. She laughed a lot and was very friendly, according to her neighbors. The neighbors handed over Wairimu's children to the children's department. Life went on until last Sunday, when Buruburu police received information that a blood-stained sack had been spotted at a primary school compound in Umoja 2 estate. DCI investigators were informed that the sack had been brought to the yard from one of the houses in the estate. This is a year later, okay? 2 street boys had been spotted dumping the bag before they disappeared. Police recovered human body parts stuffed in the gunny bag. The torso and limbs were recovered from the school compound, while the rest of the body was found in a drainage about 100 meters from this scene. In the circumstances, and after ruling out ordinary petty crime, Buruburu Police Chief Adamson Bunge and DCI investigators estimated that the killings to a domestic quarrel gone awry. They swung into action to identify the quarrelsome home, but stumbled on quite different leads. They traced 2 street boys who led them to a house of a man that they claim hired them to dispose the body parts. Police also discovered more body parts in a tunnel in Umoja. Investigators were by last evening yet to get the identity of this latest victim, estimated to be about 28-year-old woman. The 2 street urchins are now lined up as prosecution witnesses. Although the first killing happened over a year ago, the Buruburu DCI chief believes both incidents are related. We have CCTV footage combined with forensic investigations, and we believe we have finally cracked the mystery of the 2 murders. Yesterday, 42-year-old wedding planner David Megwe was presented before a Makadara court, with police seeking his help in unraveling the murder of Wairimu and the Umoja woman. Megwe was, however, not required to plead to the charges when he was presented before the chief magistrate yesterday afternoon. The court allowed the DCI 14 days to question him and conclude their investigations.
Wow.
I have read you the story as it is.
That gives
So
me
you don't say, oh, you know, Eric, you're twisting this. No. That's the story as it is.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies, first of all.
Right?
Yes, it does.
There's CCTV footage at a club in the CBD of Nairobi that shows woman walks in, woman orders a drink, woman sits down by herself. Man comes, man starts talking to the woman, whispers to the woman. Shortly thereafter,
Woman leaves with man.
Man and woman leave. And that's the last time that this woman is seen. Next is her body parts strewn in different parts of this city. Body on one side at the Dandora dump site, the other parts on Landis Road in a gunny bag. That story happens. Police are unable to find out exactly what happened to them. Children are handed over to the children's department. Their life changes completely. They don't know what happened to their mother. That is it. And that story sort of becomes a cold case. A year later, just last weekend, people are like, hey, we've seen a gunny bag here, a gunia that looks bloody. They go, they investigate, they find body parts in it. They say some 2 chokoras came and dumped this gunny bag here. Chokoras are traced by police. Chokoras are nabbed by police. Chokoras say, you know what? It's a man who had actually given us money to go and dump this thing. Go to the man's house.
Voila. It's the man on the CCTV.
No, we still don't know whether it's a man on the CCTV. There's CCTV footage and all, but
Heebie-jeebies.
it's a scary story, my friend.
Heebie-jeebies. I'm telling you.
Especially because we're talking about somebody who is not just murdered, but decapitated.
Dismembered. And then thrown around
What
the
exactly
country.
is the motive? What's happening? What's the motive? What's going on? And why is it just this? Why is it women? Are these the only two? Are we likely to actually start connecting dots and finding other cases that are connected to this?
These are the two that have been found. And as we say, when you find things like this in succession, it's what has been found, and the likelihood of there being more is actually very high. Unfortunately, for somebody to go to these lengths to do something, we don't know, of course, because we don't know the more details of this story and why and who and where and what. But you can safely make the assumption that there are more.
When the DCI
like
start
this.
collaborating around the city, for example, and start comparing files, there may be like some other DCI officers may say, we've been having a case like this where people came and said this woman has gone missing, and we have not been able to find anything, or we found somebody, found murdered somewhere, and we've been trying to figure out what happened. Now we start piecing together the dots, and it's a very, very, very gory story, and we hope that the investigators who actually take this case up
then you think
are
of
going to be
children
like
who don't have a
Horatio, crime scene, and
okay.
when looking at this body,
Nice.
I wonder what happened to her. 18 minutes after 7. Let's take a look at weather shortly. Good morning. This is a Situation Room.
Highs of 26 and lows of 12. Taking a look then into Nyeri, where it promises to be a wet afternoon into a wet weekend with highs of 24. And in Nakuru, it will be wet as well. Highs of 25 and lows of 13. Eldoret at 13 degrees is mostly cloudy this morning. Thunderstorms are forecasted for the afternoon with highs of 22 and lows of 13. It's 19 degrees in Kisumu and mostly cloudy. We will see rains this afternoon, taking us into a weekend of rain in Kisumu. Highs of 28 and lows of 19. Kakamega is mostly cloudy at 16 degrees. Highs of 26 and lows of 16 with promised rain later on in the day. Malindi at 26 degrees is mostly cloudy right now and will be a very cloudy day into the weekend with rains from tomorrow through until Sunday evening. And then in Mombasa, 26 degrees is mostly cloudy, highs of 29 and lows of 24. Taking a look then into Kampala, at 18 degrees is mostly cloudy, highs of 27 and lows of 18 with partly cloudy conditions. Dar es Salaam is partly cloudy at 24 degrees, highs of 31 and lows of 23. Taking a look then into Johannesburg, where it is rather chilly this morning at 6 degrees, highs of 19 and lows of 4. However, it will be sunny and clear skies. In Lagos, at 26 degrees is mostly cloudy, highs of 31 and lows of 24. We'll take a look at the rest in a bit.
It's 21 after 7. This is a Situation. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. In Kenya's biggest conversation, we have hope. When you talk about such gory cases, we start.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Yeah.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We still have to say, no. We have hope. We have hope that this is going to work.
Yeah.
But there's also another story of lucrative trade. How bang from Ethiopia finds its way to Nairobi.
Okay.
The other day we were talking about how a man came from Kakuma refugee camp to Eastleigh and back, despite the
Save his
lockdowns.
sister, yeah.
Yes, to save his sister. The Kenya-Ethiopia border is now an entry point of large hauls of bang, widely grown in southern Ethiopia, according to the Standard. Moyale town, the largest of the trading centers near the border, stands out as the capital of contraband that includes smuggling of now Kenya's popular brand of bang, dubbed Shashamane.
The name alone. Say it again.
Shashamane.
Wow.
Apart from Moyale, the other border points used by cartels to smuggle in the Ethiopian bang include Sololo, Uran, Forole, and Dukana. Multiple security sources in Upper Eastern said dealers use peddlers to smuggle the brand into these centers in small batches using unofficial or unmanned routes, especially at night, while Moyale town accounting for more than 75%. In Moyale, Biashara Street and Hailu are major entry points. Small vehicles, bodabodas, donkey carts, humans are means of transport used to sneak in the cargo. It's from these centers that the bang is transported to Nairobi using two routes, the Moyale-Nairobi Highway via Marsabit and Isiolo, and the unofficial route, a cut line that runs from Funanyata in Sololo to Yamicha Plains of Merti sub-county in Isiolo. Route 1, which our sources described as direct but risky, is used by the well-connected cartels with deep pockets. This is not some small-time business that you're seeing some guy here with 2 rolls of bank. No, it is proper business with proper routes. And 2 weeks ago, 2 people were arrested with 1.5 million shillings worth of bang in a Toyota Prado in Isiolo town. On Sunday last week, 5 people, including 2 GSU officers in Mariera camp in Igembe Centro, were arrested with 600 kilograms of bang worth 15 million shillings. The haul was in 2 cars, a GSU Land Cruiser pickup and a private Toyota Prado. GSU. Just so you get me right. GSU.
So that we understand how serious
and the
this thing
Prado.
actually is.
Bang worth 15 million shillings. Shashamane was coming to Kenya. Last Thursday, a vehicle was seized in Makoyo, Murang'a County with bang worth 14.5 million shillings and 2 people arrested. All this is coming from Ethiopia. All right? We have just talked about in a period of 2 weeks. Bang worth 1.5 plus 15 plus 14.5 is how much? 1.5 plus 14.5 is 16.
16.
Plus 15, 31 million shillings worth of bang.
One way.
Yep.
One time.
These are the ones that you caught. The ones that got away. Many. So it's a serious route. It's a serious business that's emerged here. Smugglers have resorted to even using GK vehicles. And up to 10 security officers are facing charges in courts over these offenses. 10 cops facing charges in court.
Over this thing.
So it's not just at the end, it's official business with proper protection of security agencies. Marsabit County Commissioner Evans Achoki says the state used the army based at Order Camp in Moyale to dig trenches along illegal entry points at Hailu and Biashara Street to check entry of people and contraband to and from Ethiopia. But he says he and his Isiolo counterpart Harman Shambi acknowledged that the smugglers use the cut-line route that mostly have no settlement areas and patrols are minimal. It's a vast area.
This is the one that you've been able to find now.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling
they
you.
They will find ways
of coming. Of it, right? It just seems, but how much more of this stuff is going on? This is just one case in 2020 in June, okay? It didn't start in June 2020. Yep. Obviously, it's been going on for some time. It just happens to be that. And, even when they are caught, usually it wouldn't be just as a result of direct investigations. Either there was some bad blood somebody spilled the beans, somebody ratted the other person out because of a deal gone wrong. Look, the things you see in the movies came from somebody.
So you think these ones that were caught, it's because somebody wanted them to get caught?
You think somebody was doing the investigations and then found out that there was bang that was traveling between Ethiopia and here,
in
and
a
then
GSU
suddenly
vehicle,
in a GSD vehicle, no less, and then somebody just happened to be doing the investigations and then found out about it? Come on, Eric.
Have some faith in our investigative agencies. Come on.
I have a lot of faith in investigative. I do.
And
I
you have a
really
lot
do.
of faith in our security officers also being used to smuggle.
Exactly. They too can do this.
Because this is the bigger story. The bigger story here is the
That
direct
it was being
involvement
transported in a GK vehicle.
of security officers. If we have 10 police officers who are facing various charges in various courts over the smuggling of bang into the country, and this is just one route, okay? And then you're talking about 15 million shillings worth of bang nabbed in a GSU car. A GSU vehicle is carrying 15 million shillings worth of bang. And it's being escorted in a Toyota Prado, by a Toyota Prado.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because who would have thunk it? But hey, here it is happening in the flesh.
Good drama.
Right before our eyes. I'm telling you, this is the stuff that movies are made of.
Good drama, and it's all happening in the country. So what is it that we need to do? I mean, if you think about that, if you think about the sad bit is we know also that there are very many cases we've had of Ethiopian and Eritrean nationals being smuggled, and they are found in Nairobi. They are found in various houses in Nairobi. They come into Kenya as a stop to them seeking to go into other countries. They end up in South Africa. They end up in Northern America.
So Kenya is a transit point.
Kenya is
essentially.
basically it's purely a transit point.
Yeah.
And they are caught very many times. You'll hear there was a raid in a certain estate in Nairobi where 40 people were found crammed in a room.
Yeah.
And they're all of Ethiopian nationality or Eritrean or something like that. Now he's finding bang. It basically tells you that even the human trafficking happens with the aid of security agencies. And if that happens that way, then also we can tell you that are we able to fight other crimes or like serious crimes like terrorism?
Could actually get it done.
If you can smuggle this kind of stuff, if you can smuggle bang, if you can smuggle people, can't you also smuggle the terrorist? They just find their way. They'll just pay their way, pop, they end up here.
Because if money talks, as they say in Nigeria, money they talk, monkey they walk.
Ha! When the money talks, monkey walks. Is that what it means?
Yeah, money they talk, monkey they walk. As
Money
in
they
anything
talk.
can get through the gate, so long as you flash the cash, man.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
The monkey will actually pass.
The monkey will walk. The one that's in the cage. Monkey will walk.
All it needs is just money.
I'm telling you. Money is the language of so many.
So you introduce that one about universities, and then we first take a traffic break.
Okay, well, we can do that. So, there's so many things going on right now. Schooling being one of them. We saw the other day that certain courses were picked, and university degrees are actually on the lower end, or rather, that the varsities. Okay. Let me just arrange my mouth, okay? Look at the headline in the Standard, on not the headline, but one of the stories on page 4. Varsities suffer as students snub over 72 degree courses. The degree programs with no application, some of which we saw the other day. But now we look at the fact that the placement boss says only 2,228 of the 10,289 registered schools and examination centers submitted their candidates' choices. No student from last year's KCSE exams was selected to pursue some 72 degree courses. And so there's a lot going on here, and I'm going to have a discussion about that. But it seems that this comprises of 16 courses which did not attract any applicant, and another 56 where Kenya universities and colleges' central placement services did not place any student. So no students were placed whatsoever. These details emerged after the release of the 2019 University Placement Report for the 2020 and 2021 academic calendar on Tuesday. Data shows Egerton University, for example, has 6 courses that did not attract any applicant, while Kisumu University did not get students for 2 courses. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has regularly advised universities to abolish courses that do not attract students and not aligned to current job demands. So you start to ask yourself the question, look at the job market. What does it look like is necessary in terms of a country's economy? That then should fuel the decisions as to what courses will be offered at university. So it seems that there's a long list of courses at many universities that are not being taken up, that are not being utilized. and I dare say a lot of universities who are in existence and they shouldn't be.
How now?
I mean, for what? With devolution, we saw that almost every county, I think every county, now has a university, has a couple of colleges thrown in there because of devolution, right? But still, the trend is that a lot of people are moving to the universities
The bigger
universities that are brand names.
Yeah.
The University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University, JKUAT, and the like. And so those universities have quite a little bit in terms of population, but a lot of their courses are not being taken up. A lot of the spaces that they have available are not being used. There's a duplication of courses in this country. People are not even taking them up. Why are some universities offering some courses when others should be better placed to be able to offer them in terms of specialization? Some universities around the world are known for offering certain courses. And I think it's time that Kenya takes up that in terms of being known as an institution for offering certain things, not just offering them
Not
because
everything. Just because you're in university, so you have every new subject. 28 minutes to 8. So let's take a look at topic and then we start that conversation.
Okay, so it seems that the potholes around Wayaki Way are slowing down people this morning, and that is affecting traffic as you're trying to get out into the CBD from the 87. All right. Avoid outbound from Lolongo towards Kappa. Well, I guess if you're already there, you can't really avoid it, right? You can use the road behind the SGR leading to the ICD. That'll take you a little bit longer, but the traffic between Kappa and the SGR and then to the JKIA turnoff is chocker blocked. Not moving this morning, guys. It's Friday, so we expect the same. On Thika Road, it's actually quite slow as well. We have some in and out traffic bound drama. In and outbound traffic drama this morning, unfortunately. Outbound on Thika Road, inbound to the city, it's not moving. But these are our usual suspects, are they not? Yes, they are. Nothing major outside of that happening. We'll let you know if there is, of course. Please do get in touch with us on Spice of MKE on Twitter. If you do get stuck somewhere and you see something that anybody else should know about, we want to keep it moving. It is Friday, so much to be done. We don't want to have to get stuck in traffic, do we? Nope.
So we are talking about now education at the public in university education in general, right? And the fact that we are seeing very many of the students that sat last year's KCSE did not pick courses that are being offered in universities, in public universities, or even in private universities. Students snubbed over 72 degree courses. The placements board says 2,000 of the 10,000 registered schools and examination centers submitted their candidate choices. We're talking about some of these university degree courses that are in existence, that they have a capacity, and then they got zero admissions or zero applications for them. Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology and Meru University did not receive students for their 3 and 4 courses, respectively. 3 courses at Masinde Muliro University did not have any application. Basically, students just did not apply to join this course. All right. Some 6 courses offered at Masai Mara University, including botany, environmental studies, and zoology, not taken by students. We are also talking about Southeastern Kenya University and receiving no students for their courses. University of Embu, University of Eldoret, Maseno, Karatina, Africa International University did not receive students for some of their courses. University of Kabianga, Tharaka University College did not receive applications for their Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Education and Extension and Bachelor of Agribusiness Management, respectively. So let's go back. Kabianga, University of Kabianga, they have a course called Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Education and Extension, 0 applications. Tharaka University College, Bachelor of Agribusiness Management, 0 applications. Umma University, it has a course called Bachelors of Law and Sharia and Bachelor of Commerce, 0 applications. Pwani University, Bachelor of Science in Oceanography, 0 applications. Bachelor of Science in Animal Production at University of Embu, 0 applications. So why is it that when the universities are starting these courses, what's in their plan?
Unfortunately, I would have to say that the commercial value is placed beyond actually providing an education for a lot of the country's, applications. We must also understand that it's not just students coming out of university, rather coming out of high school who are attending university. You have people in the working class who are going back to school, that kind of thing.
Yep.
People who may not have had an opportunity to go to university before, then are presented with this opportunity. So it goes across the board. And unfortunately, I do think, especially with devolution, and we saw this, that there was an opportunity then for each county, more or less, and even sub-counties, to have these educational institutions. And so we saw, it was crazy because we saw a mushrooming. Every county suddenly had a
wanted to have a university.
The Chartered Institute was working much faster to get these charters out and then to give people then the right to read, as it were.
There's a university in Karatina. There's a university in Anmumbi's county. What's it called? Kirinyaga County. There's a university in Embu. There's a university in Tharaka. There are universities, even private and public, in Meru. Just how that area.
This strip just there.
Going down into Nyeri, there are universities in Nyeri.
Dedan Kimathi University is there.
Yep.
Then you have other universities just around. Everybody now saw this opportunity to open a university.
Murang'a has a university. Kiambu has very many universities.
And why was that? There was the thought that because then you would bring education closer to the people, or to the counties, then it was an opportunity for educational institutions to make more money. And last time I said the commercial value overtook actually thinking how these courses would benefit the people of the community. And I think that if we look at societies that have been able to use their education as a tool to then enhance the economy, because you might want to look at it as just a purely commercial venture.
Yeah.
But if you want to look at education, actually you play a major role in fueling a nation, right? Because essentially educating its people.
Yep.
So for me, having used the commercial value, number one, is a huge mistake, because then we now see the problems that we see now. Number one, there's a duplication of courses. Number two, there is an overrepresentation of educational facilities and institutions who unfortunately are not offering value for the structures. There's a lot of structure. Unfortunately, there's lack of substance. You have 6 or 7 universities in the same area all offering the same thing, and then you have students or potential students who are not picking up those courses. We need to, and I do here, I agree with exactly. I agree with CS Mogo. Some of these courses should be scrapped.
Yep.
There should be collaboration between institutions. That's how sometimes you have University of Nairobi in conjunction with another university offering this course.
Yep.
Because it is here and we know that you have students. What happens essentially is that you have students in your institution, but they can come and study the course instead of you now studying a fully fledged course at your university, and then we have this problem. Nobody takes it up. We have had cases of when university lecturers are not able to teach a class because they're less than the threshold that is necessary to teach. Because people have not registered. People have not registered for the course. So what are we doing? And if this we go back to the whole thing about how decisions are fueled by information, proper information. How then do you know what to offer in school if you've not done in universities, if you've not done a study of what is lacking in society? And I say, this information is what you should use then to make the decision about the courses that you offer at university. What is the country lacking? What does the country need? Address the need. Offer those courses. Apart from offering them, make it known that this is what is being offered. How many people?
Some of them actually, you can even look at where you're placed. Okay, so Pwani University and having, of course, a degree in oceanography
Makes sense.
makes sense.
Yes.
All right, and you can say this is what it offers. Masai Mara University, and looking at what Masai Mara represents. So Masai Mara is world famous national park. If you talk about anything to do with conservation, anything to do with study of animals and such, it's okay. Koitalel University, what is it? It's anthropology, maybe. I don't know. Fine. Then look at that and see what is it that you want to be known for. If the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology is called University of Agriculture and Technology,
You would assume then.
that you should not be getting courses like communication. All right? Unless you're talking about a postgraduate course on communication and technology, something that is focuses purely on communication and technology, understanding technology for communication advancement. Okay, postgraduate courses for such, fine. But a degree course on that, or a degree course, we find that JKUAT, I'm not saying, I have not checked their website or their programs, I don't know. But if you found something like JKUAT offering a course on
Humanities. Things like that.
or hotel, tourism and hotel management, you'd question, I mean, so why? Agriculture and technologies. Try and focus to what even your name says.
I do agree that there is a flooding in the country of a lot of these courses, and I think that it is necessary to have some kind of realignment done. I think it's as painful as it may sound. It's necessary to merge. It's necessary to scrap, and going as far as to say some of these universities that have opened up recently need actually to be closed, because you can't have an entire university where you're offering 100 odd courses and less than 50% of them are being taken up. It doesn't make sense to me.
Or even if you're oversubscribed, but you don't even have the facilities, you don't have enough teaching staff to cater for this. You don't even have the facilities to advance proper teach this. If you're teaching communication, you don't have a studio. You're teaching communication, you don't even have computers. You're teaching communication, you don't have the equipment. Because this is what we hear in many universities nowadays are offering communication courses. Because it's something that is very, very lucrative to very many young people, communication. Then you go into these universities and you ask the teaching staff, so what kind of teaching aids do you have? You don't have a studio, you don't have cameras, you don't have lighting. What are you going to teach people on camera work if you don't even have a single camera and you're an entire university?
I dare say as well. I mean, look, this is one, again, you come to one of the problems where you land yourself into when the commercial value then overtakes the need to inject some kind of proper education into the system. If you want to look globally, there are universities that are known for certain things. There's an education system that is known for certain things.
Yep.
If you want to look at the Harvards of today, they're not going to try their hand at some things. It's not going to happen.
Or even
They're
they
going to
specialize.
they're going to stick to the business. They're going to stick to law and some of these other things that we see.
They have a public health university.
Exactly. MIT is going to stick to your
Technology.
Engineering and your technology. The Berkeley School of Music is not going to open some courses in communication.
In
for
animal
example.
husbandry.
They're not going to do that because they know and see their strengths and they're going to stick with that. If you come and you say, I like the prestige of the school, all well and good. You study what we have to offer. This is what we are offering. Now, if you come and insist that you want to study with us, we're not going to offer a course just because you want to stay with us because of prestige. And I think that is the way in which we need to go. If you look at the courses that are being offered, and this is a problem here.
I have something actually to show you. So I just talked about JKUAT, right?
Yes, you did.
So I've gone to their website and I'm looking at their undergrad courses. Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Looking at just all these courses, they are related to agriculture and technology. There is business in IT, business of information technology. There is construction management, landscape architecture. All these are technology. Science, biochemistry, science in industrial biotechnology, agricultural technology. It was formerly known as Bachelor of Architecture. Now they've gone into architectural technology. Agribusiness economics and food industry management, agriculture, actuarial sciences, agribusiness management and development. They have civil engineering, computer science, computer technology, control and instrumentation, agriculture and technology. You've got industrial chemistry, you've got land resource planning and management, mechanical engineering, mechatronics, soil, water and environment engineering, telecommunication and information engineering, agriculture and technology. This is saying that this university basically stands for that. What do you know Egerton University for example?
Agriculture.
For a long time, Egerton University being the one for agriculture. So some of their diploma and undergrad courses, BSc in agriculture, in animal science, natural resource management, water and environment engineering, wildlife enterprise and management. Then you've got BSc in, I'm looking for others that are related to agriculture, agricultural education and extension. Then you have got BSc in, I'm looking for the others related to agriculture, agricultural economics, agricultural engineering, BSc in agriculture, in animal health management, in applied aquatic sciences, applied computer science, biochemistry, biomedical science and technology, ecotourism and hospitality. Then there are some courses that now stand out in Egerton University, which is offering all these courses, and it's known as the premier agriculture training institution in East Africa. This is the history of Egerton University. You go there and you get admitted to a course in BSc Clothing, Textiles and Interior Design.
Okay.
BSc in Early Childhood Development and Education. They have Kiswahili and Communication, History and International Studies, Gender Women Development, English and Communication, Communication and Media, BA. When I see this, I start asking myself. So, but why do we
drop the ball here?
Yeah, why do we need to go into these ones? What made you decide that this is actually a course that you'd like to start offering? And then how many people are getting this? And the paper, this is not just today's paper, even the paper the day before yesterday, it was saying that the data that they've received from the Kenya KUSIPS is what? The KUSIPS in full. Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. This is the one that takes everybody who has sat for KCSE, looks at whatever grade you got, looks at what you had applied to do in which university, and they place you in those universities. This is the one body that does that. So when it was presenting its report to the CS for Education, George Magoha, the other day, it was based on information that they have. This is what the institutions of higher learning are offering, and universities and TVETs. And this is what students have applied for. So matching them. They said that Egerton had 20 slots for a BSc in Automotive Technology, Bachelor of Technology in Building Construction, Bachelor of Technology in Renewable Energy, Bachelor of Technology in Mechanical Engineering, 20 slots for BSc in Energy Technology, 120 slots in BSc Renewable Energy and Technology. So all these courses, this is information that is with the university's placement service. However, the university itself has taken out an ad in the paper today saying, contrary to press reports published on Wednesday, they're also published today, Egerton University does not offer the following degree programs. It does not offer that Bachelor of Science in Automotive Engineering, or BTech in Building Construction, or BTech in Renewable Energy, or BTech in Mechanical Engineering, or Bachelor of Science in Energy Technology, or Renewable Energy and Technology. These courses, we don't offer them.
Where would this information have come from?
Yeah. Where is the disconnect here? And can you imagine if actually somebody had applied for a course in this?
And then you say you don't have it.
And then you say, but you're applying for a course, though. We don't offer this course. We've never offered this course.
It would be interesting to know where that information came from. But then I think the pushback also is indicative of something else.
Yep.
The pushback comes from the point of knowledge that they also realize that we have been able to focus on certain areas. It's not necessary for us to bring in other courses. It's not necessary for us to keep offering other courses outside of our core business. And I do think that where we've been looking at education as general, education actually should, at the risk of sounding, obvious, it should actually be pointed, it should be targeted. And certain universities, certain high institutions of higher learning should be known for certain courses, should be known for certain areas, that you should be able to go to this school if you're going to get some kind of targeted learning. I do agree that there should be some universities who offer general courses that you can throw a stone and it'll land on something. However, I think that those who have been known for certain things should stick to those things. And as time continues to change and evolve, then you can introduce specialized courses still within your core business, but then touch on other things. Like, for example, we're in the information and communication age right now. Everything that you can get at a touch of a button. Those universities that have been offering agriculture, for example, you want to look at agriculture and passing on information, for example, and communication in the age in which we live in. So you want to introduce courses like that. But to stray away completely from what it is that you've been known for, what it is that you can do, not to say that people should not embrace change in any way, shape, or form, however, that we shouldn't now just offer for the sake of offering. Because look at the problems that we are facing now. Universities with course loads, they receive charters to be able to do certain things that they cannot now do because people are not picking it up. And I see this being as a reason, so many things being the reason for this. Lack of proper communication that they offer these courses, lack of proper planning to say that this is what we intended to do and this is why we set it up in the first place. And then even just a clear focus of what the job market or the country terrain looks like when it comes to services that are required in the future. That has not been studied and taken into consideration. And I think it absolutely needs to. Education then needs to fuel the country later on in terms of now what it's able to offer up. Can you imagine so many things that you want to do in the country, but you have to bring in external talent and expertise because the thousands of people within the country have not been trained. Meanwhile, you have the capacity to do so.
You have the capacity. You just didn't focus. We're all over. I think it's just being all over the place and not being sure exactly what we want to do as a university. This is the courses that, well, we are seeing like these are the courses that people want. So let's come up with all these courses. Let's see if we can address the need of the market. But you don't even have the capacity. You've not even developed your capacity to address this. And this is where now some of these problems start coming in. Like people wondering, so what course exactly do you offer? What do you stand for? How many do you need to be able to admit? How many do you need to admit to be able to run this course? To offer this course properly? When Margot has started talking about, I think it's about time that universities started reviewing the kind of courses that you're offering. Some of those that you're offering that you actually are seeing over the years, we have not grown the numbers in this, just drop them. Or work out a way in which the students that you have now, transfer them to another university that has more students and let them be able to continue with pursuing that. Drop it. Focus on what is working for you. Focus on few courses that make sense for you. And let everybody be known for that. Let us be knowing that if you go to Lower Kabete campus of the UON, you are going to get this kind of people who come out of there. The people who have done commerce and accounting and such. Fine, we know this is where they come from. The School of Law of the University of Nairobi. This is what they study.
Can it be a question, though, that we ask ourselves, that even when you look at devolution and then trying to bring services, because at the end of the day, that's what it was, trying to bring services to the door of the people. Is it necessary for every county to have a university, for example? Maybe
not. In fact, in this era where we're trying to promote and push for TVET, it was better. We had this before. We had polytechnics in every county now. There are polytechnics. And those polytechnics are the ones that converted themselves to become universities. They should maybe look back and see it's better for us to offer the technical courses. Okay? As a county, it's better for us to have this facility that's offering technical courses, TVET courses, and then a cluster of three counties can have one university that addresses this. So people who want to go to university, we can say there's this region, because we now have regional conglomeration of counties. Say Jumuiya ya counties za Pwani, we shall have 2 universities.
Exactly.
But all the others, every county shall have TVETs spread around the counties and the sub-counties. It's better that way.
I would absolutely think so. I think there's a lot of time and a lot of resources that are being wasted with this, because it might be reported in the paper and as just a report. But I'm sorry, but this is just showing that there's really all-round lack of planning, and it's necessary that something be done about this. 72-degree courses is not a joke, right? When it comes to all of this, and in terms of then what should be, and then you find out that times have changed, and that's the thing, to be able to move and change with the times, whereby we see that individuals are looking to be more specialized in what it is that they do. We heard already, and we know that medicine, for example, anybody who wants to be known or to be worth their salt is not going to go to another university in Kenya apart from the University of Nairobi. Is still with the highest applications for medicine and surgery in the country.
Yep.
We know they're not going to go anywhere else.
Yep.
So in terms of looking at it from then a government or that kind of leadership outlook, then let's say, all right, fine. You can have your subsidiary courses in these polytechnics or that you talk about. It's possible. But if you're going to look at the main course for specialization, let's keep it at the University of Nairobi.
University of Nairobi.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And they're working in collaboration with the Kenyatta,
teaching hospital.
yes, what's it called? This
Kenyatta
hospital?
Kenyatta National Hospital.
Yeah, Kenyatta National Hospital,
Yeah.
right? KU as well, because they now have a teaching and referral hospital. Then you can say that, well, have medical courses there
For
as
sure,
well.
for
In
sure.
Eldoret, it's the same, because you have Moi Teaching and Referral. So what is Moi Teaching and Referral working? What university is it working with? This one. Okay. Next. Remove the
I
other
think it's
things.
necessary to have a
Remove
shedding and
the other
offloading
things.
of all of this, because it's just too much. It's a waste of time. Because then also the danger that lies therein is that you will have few students who will apply for these unpopular courses, as it were, but they will miss out. They will not be taught because universities then, with their administration, are not going to offload these courses for teaching to lecturers. For example, you have 3-4 people registering for a course. They will not offer the course that semester, and then that term, and then what happens is that you skip a term because you have not finished your course load, because they were not able to teach it because there were not enough people who registered for it. So where you have somebody who should have completed a course in 4 years, they end up finishing in 6 or 7 because they were waiting for a particular course to be filled. This is the problem. And then a lot of students are wasting their time in school, wasting resources. And do you think they're going to give you that money back once you've paid for it?
I'm looking at Masai Mara University. When you come out of this break, I'm going to tell you they have 6 schools: School of Arts and Social Sciences, School of Science and Information Sciences, School of Education, School of Business and Economics, School of Natural Resources and Animal Sciences, as well as School of Tourism, Hospitality and Leisure Studies. Okay, this is just Masai Mara University, which is a couple of years old. These are the kind of courses that it offers. But we look at are you getting application from all these places? Okay, are you getting from all these places? We're coming to the top of the hour. Let me remind you of today's proverb. It's from Eritrea, this proverb of today's, and the proverb says, if you hear a man talking, wait for a minute and you'll soon hear what makes people think that he's mad. If you hear a mad man talking, just listen to him for a minute. You'll soon understand what makes people think that he's mad. Don't always believe the negatives that you hear about people. Purpose to find out for yourself. It's a situation. We open up the conversation now for you to join in. 0719 012 600. Also, Spice FM KE on Facebook and Twitter. Good morning.
Towards the CBD on Mombasa Road, it seems to be an absolute mess today. Just saying it because I'm trying to keep you focused. It's going to take a while to get out of there. There is traffic. There's traffic on Wayaki Way today. There's traffic on Thika Road. There's traffic on Mombasa Road. There's traffic everywhere you look. Everybody's trying to get out or maybe do some last minute things before any kind of announcements are made tomorrow. The traffic outbound on Thika Road towards the Blue Post, surprise, surprise, is a jam-packed, bumper to bumper, people trying to get out for the weekend, as it were. sure that it never stopped anyone, that there was cessation of movement. All right. So it's going to require some patience wherever it is that you're looking this morning. Mombasa Road will not take you too badly, though. Once you get to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout and then out onto Uhuru Highway, you should be fine. Let us know what you see. So far, no incidents or accidents, and we're very happy for that. If you do see anything that holds you up and we can get people moving a little bit better, don't hesitate to let us know. Spice FM KE on Twitter. That's how you can reach us.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher,
So join the conversation. Do you agree
seasoned
with what
political
Professor
observer,
George Magoha
a
has
fountain
been asking universities to do, especially public universities, even private universities? Look at the courses that you're offering. If they're not popular, just drop them. Stop having all these courses. What we have seen this year is very many courses that are being offered by public universities have not been taken up. 72 degree courses, according to the Kenya Universities Placement Service. It's saying 72 degree courses in universities have not been picked up. Students did not apply for them for various reasons. A, they did not know. Maybe they don't even know that this university offers this degree courses, or they just don't feel like this course works for them. And if a university is basically offering courses that people are not going for, why not just scrap them? And we were also talking about looking at how to specialize. If you're a university and you should be known for something, be known for the kind of course that you are offering. Join the conversation on Twitter as well, Spice FM KE, and Facebook, Spice FM KE. Sami Mungai on Twitter says, thanks for fixing your systems. Now I can follow the conversation from Nakuru. This is good to hear. The Nakuru 96.0 is back on air. Yeah, okay. Karibuni sana, and continue the conversation. Some of the comments that we are seeing on social media platforms, they say, I'm going to read one. Good morning. I can relate to your conversation on universities offering courses. I did a BSc Health Informatics for 4 years as a pioneer of the course in JKU Watt, only to find out the name of the course has changed before we graduated, and now it's hard to find jobs.
And that's what I'm saying.
Do you understand what she's saying?
Yes, you did the course because it was offered at that time with the intention to get a job in it afterwards. But then you're done, and then you realize, actually, well, there's nothing in terms of
the university halfway through your course decides, let's change the name of this course even. All right? Maybe they realize, okay, the first year we called it BSc in Health Informatics. It got the pioneer class. The second year, the number of applicants dropped. The third year, the number of applicants dropped. So they changed the name to sort of see if they can attract more. Change the bait. See if you can catch better fish.
And unfortunately, the opposite happened.
Now, the person who studied this course for 4 years is going with the paper and people are asking, what is this? BSc in Health Informatics. So what are you supposed to do with this? So what do you know? What were you taught? You know? And it becomes...
it becomes just that, what you've just been able to express.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what we're talking about now, whereby, and, you know, to really push the TVET, to push TVET and technical colleges, initially, when there was a big push and pull from the Uhuru administration
Yep.
to really start to focus on TVETs, it seemed like it was something that was just pushing a particular, presidential agenda. However, if you want to look at it holistically, you see that that is the way to go. When you're looking at countries now who are more, when you look at now global, the way global governance then happens
Yep.
for countries as themselves, is that more countries are more inward looking. More countries are trying to do a lot more for themselves. And this is one direct result of how you'll be able to do things for yourself with the education of your people. I don't think that in 2020, when you look at a certain project that needs to be done, that you have to call in expertise from outside. Now, if you want to look at this even more closely, is that a lot of the aid that you get from outside countries comes with the expertise. That's just one example. That you say, okay, we'll give you this money, but then the people who are going to expend these duties are actually going to come from our country as well. We're going to bring them in, whether it's infrastructure, the building of roads and real estate and things like that, whether it's setting up of systems, whether they be financial or health, whether they be educational, it'll come with us as well. And to be able to be strong enough to say that thank you for this assistance, but in terms of the expertise, it is going to come from us. There are very few countries on the globe right now who are able to do that.
Yeah.
And I say that one of the only ways that you'll be able to do that is through educating people with a focused agenda of making sure that they come out as the industry leaders. So that anything you need is essentially done by you. When we talk about African solutions to African problems, it's not just coming up with something that you put on paper. It's actually training your people and making sure that your people are armed with all that they need to help in that solution making. And education is one of the biggest drivers.
And make it a fulsome course. So when you have this, you make sure that you have. There was the other survey that was done actually on universities and what universities were doing. And remember, I don't remember who had conducted this survey. One of those, one of the agencies in government. They went to universities and they found this university claims to have this number of lecturers. And in fact, it claims that so-and-so is the head of department in this university. This person actually teaches in a different university altogether. And this is the person who's listed on paper as the one who is heading the department in this particular university, offering this course. So you're finding that there's a shortage of qualified personnel to be lecturers and professors in these universities because you have just come up with new program. What do we need? We need a new course on information. We need a school of information, school of arts and social sciences. For example, in Masai Mara University, they have Bachelor of Arts in Communication and Journalism, Bachelor of Arts in Communication and Public Relations, Bachelor of Arts in Social Work. So if they've got all these BAs for the School of Arts and Social Sciences, then they've got all these other BAs in BScs in School of Science and Information Sciences, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, in Mathematics, in Physics, in Applied Statistics, with Computing, in Computer Science, in Information Science, in Botany, Microbiology, Zoology, Nursing. Then School of Education in Masai Mara University. Of course, it has B.Ed in with Guidance and Counseling, Special Needs Education, Childhood Development, Guidance and Counseling again, Bachelor of Education Science, Special Needs Education for Science. Then they also have School of Business, Commerce, Entrepreneurship, Human Resource Management, Project Planning and Management, blah, 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 blah. You've got School of Natural Resources and Animal Sciences, Bachelor of Arts in Geography, Environmental Management, Environmental Studies and Earth Sciences, Biology and Health. Then Masai Mara University has a School of Tourism, Hospitality and Leisure, Bachelor of Science in Tourism Management, Bachelor of Hotels and Hospitality Management.
It would be interesting to see what the uptake for these courses is in some of these universities. I mean, if you want to look at Masai Mara, for example, when you hear it, you want to think that, okay, there are folks then who are being trained on how to receive, on how to receive the large number of tourists that would come into this particular area, who would then be able to be trained in terms of, just like you said, hotel and restaurant management, leisure activities, this, that, the other thing. Which, if you want to look at a country like Greece, for example, in times of COVID, opening up their economy, what is the one thing they're opening it up for? Tourism. The majority of the Greek population in in the service and professional industry are in matters of tourism. And I was just able to look that up now, is that 60% of the country's workforce is in that sector. And not just some fly off the seat of your pants knowledge, but they've actually gone and they've been trained in those matters, whether it is service, whether it is restaurants, whether it is hotel, whether it is customer care, whether it is logistics and transport, across the board have gone on and been professionally trained. Because guess what? That is their country's outlook. Whether it's Mykonos and all those other islands, whether it's the islands of the Mediterranean, whether it's their food and culture, whatever it is that brings in their national revenue, they have seen the importance of making sure that individuals are trained so that they can enter the service industry, and then 1 + 1 = 2, whereby now you bring in more national revenue and income because of the fact that you're offering top-notch services, and people have to be trained for that. So what have they seen? The outlook is that this is what is going to help us to survive. Greece went under a few years ago, right? And then they were saved from, they got into their programs and started to get better when then it came to a national outlook and their economy. Still, the thing that they banked on is the same thing that saved them. Now tell me, would they have been able to do this if they did not have a trained workforce who understood what it was that they needed to do to get them back on their feet?
No, they wouldn't.
Exactly. And this is a glaring example of the opportunities that arise, or the opportunities that exist by virtue of the fact that you're training your people to be able to fuel this same thing that it could essentially save economies, right? So I think we've not taken it seriously. We've not taken the value of education as seriously as we should, and said that this thing can actually be the savior.
I think in tourism, hospitality and leisure, we have very many colleges in Kenya which are offering this, okay? And then if you go to the fact that Kenya has this population that speaks English, that's well educated, is able to speak English. That's why you find in the Middle East, for instance, in many of these big hotels, it's the Kenyans who are working there. Now, if we trace their steps backwards and ask ourselves, how did we train them? I don't know for sure, and I'm not speaking out of knowledge, but I'm just speaking out of a hunch, because of the kind of colleges that we see, advertising every now and then on newspapers and on TVs and radios, and saying that we offer certificate courses in hotel management, in tourism management, in leisure. Looking at them and looking at their capacity to offer this holistically, properly, right? Able to train, able to take people through the practical training, because that's what you need to know, the hands-on practical training of how to run a hotel. You find that many of these colleges also have some small hotel that they run somewhere, a restaurant. Yeah. So many of the students are looking for internship in restaurants. They go into these restaurants, they go into many small establishments. That's where they pick their expertise from. But remember, these small establishments are not catering for a tourist audience. They're catering for the local market. They're catering for local people in that small town who come into this restaurant to eat and to drink and to have meetings, funeral meetings or wedding meetings or hosting wedding committees. Such is what happens. So when this person has come from a college and come and interned in this particular facility, and you expect that this person can then work in a 5-star hotel in future, in a 3-star or 4-star hotel that's dealing with an international audience, we are getting it wrong. And like I said, I don't know. I know that we have very many of Kenyan workers who are working in big hotels outside the country. I know that we export them so much. I look back at how do we train them. We talk about Kenya Utalii College, and Kenya Utalii College even having satellite colleges across the country. And the capacity of Kenya Utalii College, does it still retain that shine? This is the Kenya Utalii College. Many of the big managers of hotels, Kina Mohammed Hersi and the rest, proudly talk about their years at the Kenya Utalii College and how they were trained. There's a new college of tourism and hospitality coming up in Kilifi. Big one. Then we're talking about Masai Mara University offering this kind of program. Right? Are we doing it well? Are we able to focus and say, this is what we shall do? We are going to focus ourselves as a Kenya Utalii College. We shall work on giving a diploma and certificate, and then we shall also partner with this particular university that shall give undergrad and postgrad courses on hotel and hospitality industry. We just keep throwing all balls in the air. That's the kind of feeling that I get. We have so many balls in the air, so many colleges coming up offering so many courses, being licensed to offer so many courses, and then in the end, the quality of what we get out of these universities, out of these colleges, is wanting. It's completely wanting. Join the conversation, 0719-012-600. I see your calls coming in. Now we're going to start picking them, 0719-012-600. Also, you can post your comments on Facebook, Spice FM KE, on Twitter, Spice FM KE, as well as Instagram, Spice FM KE. At 8:15, let's take a look at the weather, and the conversation continues. Good morning.
All right, it's warming up a little bit in Nairobi. We'll still see mostly sunny conditions for most parts of the morning at 16 degrees rather, highs of 26 and lows of 12. All right, let's take a look then into Nyeri, where it's partly cloudy at 16 degrees, highs of 24 with showers expected in the afternoon. Prepare for a wet afternoon in Nakuru at 25 the high and lows of 13 going well into the weekend. Eldoret, you will experience thunderstorms this afternoon, highs of 22 and lows of 13. Take a quick look into Kisumu at 19 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. We will see cloudy conditions through the day with highs of 28 and lows of 19 and the chance of rain quite high. Kakamega, you will receive showers this afternoon, highs of 26 and lows of 16. Currently at mostly cloudy conditions at 18 degrees. All right, Malindi is mostly cloudy at 26, highs of 29 and lows of 25 throughout today. Mombasa, mostly cloudy at 26 degrees. We'll see highs of 29, lows of 24, preparing for a wet weekend ahead. Let's take a look then into Kampala, where it's mostly cloudy at 19 degrees. Showers expected to check in quite early with highs of 27 and lows of 18. All right, and then peeking into Dar es Salaam at 26 degrees. It's going to be a warm day. Cloudy conditions with highs of 31 and lows of 24. Taking a look then into Johannesburg, where it's clear skies at 5 degrees. Mostly sunny conditions, and it's going to be quite cool today. Highs of only 19 and lows of 4. And then into Lagos, where it's mostly cloudy conditions, and we will see highs of 31 and lows of 24.
We are in Nairobi, 94.4, Mombasa, 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu. In Nakuru, welcome back, 96.0, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 Nyeri, 97.7 in Malindi, worldwide on www.spicefm.co.ke. We're also on Spice FM KE. We are live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, Spice FM KE. You can tag us on Twitter, Spice FM KE, at Nduoko and at Eric Latif. We're talking about the quality of education. It's about quality. It's not just about the quantity. We have very many universities that have sprung up in the last 15 years or so, after devolution as well, just before devolution, after devolution. Every county wants to have a university. We saw during the funeral of the former president, Daniel Arap Moi, the one thing that the governor of Baringo asked for was a university. Let's have a university here in honor of the late Mzee. Let's have a university in Baringo County.
So then you have to ask yourself then,
is it just about prestige? Is it just about so that you can also say we also have a big project here that we've come up with? We have a university in our county. We have a university, so it's benefiting local businesses. We have students who are coming and they're studying all manner of courses, and therefore they require to be housed. So people have set up hostels around the university, so it's helping boost the local economy. Is it just for that, or is it that because you want people to come out of this university with practical courses and practical skills and knowledge? And now that we're pushing for TVETs, what's the fate of TVETs as well? Many of our polytechnics were converted into universities. Now we're trying to push.
We're now trying to take it back.
Take it back.
Because realizing that realizing that targeted knowledge is then quite important.
Yeah.
Targeted skills and expertise are actually quite important now because you have to have these folks who put it together. Somebody was giving the example of somebody who lived in the UK and was a painter by profession. Right? And you want to think about it here, and all you think is, okay, a painter, will I be able to survive with the pay of a painter, for example, in Nairobi? And this is where we have it all mixed up.
Yep.
Because there would be seen as a part of a professional course that you took. Look at how real estate has been booming around the country. And then now see how you want to apply some of these skills and expertise to something that you need anyway, because a certain sector of the society has really, really opened up.
Yeah.
And I think that now some of these things that we take for granted should be used. Again, I go to infrastructure. How many times have we had projects here for roads, major roads in the country, and then you have an influx of foreign nationals coming in to help build or to help sort out something that Kenyans should actually be able to do. But the truth be told, that sometimes you will not be able to find people with the expertise.
And yet, by the way, when it comes to roads, we have an institution, not just a new institution. It's Kenya Institute for Highways and Roads Construction. Let me look for Kenya Institute for Highways. I saw their bus the other day and I thought, wait a minute, I actually remember the school. Kenya Institute of Highways, yes. There we go. Kenya Institute of Highways and Building Technology. It has been in there. It has been in existence for a while. KHIBTC. It's been there. Yet we are talking about we don't have the skill for people who can drive tractors. So KHIBTC is not even teaching people on how to drive to operate this machinery.
Yeah.
Other colleges are coming up to address this need. We have shifted our focus from what really matters in trying to grow our capacity. Emmanuel, I can see you called. I think the call has dropped just as I was about to pick it up. Emmanuel, you can call back 0719-012-600. And the conversation is, do you agree with Professor George Magoha when he says universities should start dropping the courses that don't make sense? Basically, make sense economically, make sense in terms of the number of students applying for these courses, make sense in terms of your own capacity to offer this particular degree or diploma.
Yeah.
If you don't have the capacity, just drop it.
Forget it.
There's no point of coming up with a course in communication if you're going to hire lecturers who teach in other universities in Nairobi and you expect them to be driving all the way to Narok once every so often to come all the way from Nairobi to Narok to teach,
and they're there
and they come back to Nairobi because they are primarily employed by, let's say, Daystar University or University of Nairobi, or they're working in Nairobi, but you don't have the capacity basically to offer this course by having your own internal staff. Just drop it.
Exactly.
No point. If you don't have a single camera and you're saying you're teaching people on how to be studio technicians, stop lying to people. Just drop it.
There you go.
If you're saying that you're offering a course in medicine, and that's just like we saw the other day, very many of these universities started courses, especially in medicine, and they were told, drop it. Courses in law, you don't have the capacity to offer this particular program. Just drop it.
I think we would need to go then and look at, because there is an institution, there's a body that charters, these institutions.
Yeah.
Who basically gives the license to universities to offer these courses.
Yes.
Or sets them out. And I think we need to go back to that at some point. And
Commission for University Education.
There you go. And ask the question, what criteria then are you using to allow all of these courses, and you're aware of what
and you know happening? Exactly what's happening, and they don't have their capacity. Are you reviewing? Are you looking at their capacity to offer these courses? Zachary.
Hi, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome back on 96.0.
I thought you were speaking outside my house.
It's that clear, huh?
But I went out and checked and I found, these guys are in Nairobi.
We are still in Nairobi.
And I thought my neighbors were almost putting me on what they are calling it suicide watch.
It's good to have you. It's good to have you back on 96.0. So what do you think, Zachary? Do you agree with what the CS for Education has been saying?
Let me tell you, according to my interaction with you guys,
yep.
I think you find that if you go back to my calls, you find that hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Zachary.
Yes,
go ahead.
Can hear you. Gilbert Osoro is also on the line. Just hold on, Gilbert will come to you shortly.
Okay.
Go ahead, Zachary.
Hello? Oh, I was saying if you go to back to my interactions
Yep.
with you, you find that I've got special praise for Mwalimu Andrew, the one I call him
Mwalimu Andrew, yes.
And
City
I
Muga.
Yeah. You know why?
Yes.
Because teachers have changed me.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers have changed me and the way I look at the world.
Okay.
And how I live in it. Even Dudu is able to come here in Nairobi.
Yep.
And we respect her
Yep.
because of her education.
Yep.
Because she uses content that helps us.
Yep.
And she's a citizen of the world. In fact, she's not a citizen of Nigeria or Kenya, she's a citizen of the world.
Yeah.
It is education that may have empowered her to be so. Now, let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
any education that is not empowering people is useless.
Mm.
And I don't know, Eric, whether you have spent a day or two, maybe, with illiterate people or semi-educated people.
Unfortunately, yes.
You would rather put me in a forest that I started dealing with the monkeys and the gorillas,
Wow.
rather than stay with those people. You understand? And then you have the personal experience. So I agree. I totally agree with Mr. Magoha. What he's saying, that any cause that is not worthwhile to our citizens and to the present world,
Yep.
we do away
Just
with it
do away with
completely.
it.
And let me tell you those guys, if they are listening. If we are taking our students to colleges to be doctors, to be engineers, who are going to be half-baked, the repercussions are going to even not only us, but even our grandchildren.
True. Very true.
And I totally, to sum it, I totally agree with Mr. Magoha. And for your information,
yes,
I have now been removed from the suicide watch. Of course, now you are back.
Very good.
Very happy to hear that.
Very happy to hear that.
Oh,
thank you very much, Zachary. Have a good one. Gilbert Osoro, good morning.
Thank you, Eric.
Karibu
Good
sana to
morning.
the situation room.
Listening to your conversation,
Yep.
first I want to say congratulations for putting up such a wonderful show.
Asante sana.
It's an eye-opener to many of us. Personally, I'm a student of the fourth industrial revolution. For many years, I was part and parcel of the Kenyan mentality of going to school for the purposes of acquiring papers, but not acquiring papers that will translate to employment. Until I met a good friend from the World Bank who one time came to where I was working and asked me what I was reading. And with that utmost respect, the gentleman by the name Mr. Smith told me, were I to take you back to America, the best that you can do is to be employed as a watchman despite you doing a master's in strategic management.
Right.
Initially, I felt offended.
You felt insulted by
later on, yes, but later on I realized he was actually for the good of my welfare. Why do I say so? He told me whether I'd heard of the World Economic Forum job landscape. It was the first time I was hearing about that term.
Yep.
He told me it is not enough to acquire further education, but you must acquire education that will translate to employment in the future. What has happened in this Kenyan market, and unfortunately, which has become a trend and a norm, people are acquiring education and further education for that matter for the purpose of getting employment.
Right.
But the education is not aligned to the job market. The job landscape, as defined by the World Economic Forum last year, indicates that the top 10 emerging jobs are data analytics and science, artificial intelligence and machine learning, software applications and developers, distributed ledgers technology, commonly referred to as blockchain, big data analytics, digital transformation specialists, organizational development specialists, and others. But what are Kenyans reading? I'll share with you the top declining jobs in the world. Number one is data entry clerks, accountants, bookkeeping and payroll clerks, administrative and executive secretaries. We are talking of auditors, general operations managers, postal clerks, hospitality, and others. And when I read about the World Economic Forum report, In 2022, there will be 133 million jobs. But those jobs will be in the top 10 emerging jobs, the ones I mentioned about data analytics, robotic process automation, and others. What does the report say? That we will require reskilling of the current population so as to be able to fill the gap of the jobs that are emerging. And for your information, Eric, the jobs that will emerge in 2030 currently are not being taught in school.
Yeah.
What is happening here, because of this blind psychology of following people, we are not cognizant of what is happening in the rest of the world. My prayer and wish is, let us wake up from our deep slumber. A time has come for us to equip our children with education that will make them get jobs outside this country in the rest of the universe. I totally support and concur with what Magoha is saying. If it will involve closing some of these colleges for the sole purpose of disrupting education, so be it. Thank you, sir.
Asante sana,
Thank
Gilbert.
you so much, Gilbert.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
Welcome, and I look forward to come to your show one of these days and share insights to what is happening in the rest of the world.
We will actually be delighted to have you in the studio.
My pleasure. Thank you, and God bless.
Have a good day, Gilbert. 0719-012-600. Do you agree with Professor George Magoha when he asks universities to review their courses, what they are offering? If it's not addressing the current needs of the market, scrap it. If you're not even receiving students applying for these courses, scrap it. If you're not making money, scrap it. If it's sitting in a place where the number of students that you see applying for this course, you don't even have the capacity to basically deliver this particular course, just scrap it. Forget it. Let's stop, having a back and forth here where you're changing the name of a course in the middle of a program. Somebody has tweeted and said they applied for, what was it? Health informatics.
Right, and then it
BSc
changed.
course, 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, you realize, actually, this course had even changed its name a long time ago. Now you have a piece of paper and nobody else has that piece of paper.
Someone says the obsession with degrees needs tempering. We also need the plumbers, tailors, hairdressers, mechanics, masons, etc. Or we risk having an inverted pyramid where degree holders outnumber the TVET graduates who are actually the backbone of the labor force.
Yep. Yep. So conversation continues, 28 minutes to 9 o'clock. You can call in 0719-012-600. Social media handles at SpiceFMKE on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Let's take a look at traffic.
Okay, so let's see what the roads look like around this time. It's a bit crazy, guys. And we're looking at certain areas, Mombasa Road and Thika Road and Waiyaki Way today. Everybody going a little bit crazy. And we know that this was going to happen because come Friday, everybody's trying to get out of the city, in and outbound on Mombasa Road, in and outbound on Waiyaki Way, in and outbound on Thika Road. So it's going to excite. We're going to need you guys to exercise some patience today, but this is what it looks like now. We'll see how that changes in about an hour or so. Any incidents or accidents, do let us know. Spice FMKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter.
Traffic.
Conversation continues 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Call in. Do you agree with Professor George Magoha, the CS for Education? For a while, he's been asking universities, just review, all right? Look at what you are offering, and if it doesn't really address what we need as a country, scrap it. If you're not even getting applications for this, scrap it. We are pegging this on a story that has been appearing in the news for this week. When the Kenya University's placement service was saying how many students are going to public universities and private universities and how many were going to TVET, it also said that students snubbed over 72 degree courses across various universities. It mentioned University of Embu, Pwani University that has a BSc in Oceanography, University of Kabianga, Bachelor of Sciences in Agriculture, Education and Extension, Southeastern Kenya University, BSc in Fisheries and Aquaculture, Maseno University, BSc Economics and Statistics with IT, Mary University, Bachelor of Education Technology in Civil Engineering, Uma University, Bachelor of Commerce, BCom, Uma University, Bachelor of Laws and Sharia, Tharaka University, Bachelor of Agribusiness Management, all this. Capacity of 60, 80, 100 per course, 0 applications. What exactly is it that's
going on?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, what is it that's happening? I mean, this is the conversation that we'd like to have.
Well, I don't know. I think that also we know if you want to look at the other side of it as well, when we ask ourselves the question, because this was a very pertinent issue that somebody talked about a few minutes ago, whereby you have, if we already want to say that what does the economy hold? The economy holds 83% of the informal sector. That means essentially that you have people for whose businesses, number one, have not been formalized. And how many times do we hear the conversations where people who served in a professional capacity are then going into what they call a side hustle? That means they're doing something for which ordinarily they don't have any training on, or they have training that they've never been able to practice because they got a job which paid them. Right? So how many of these side hustles, and one of the big ones that we see now is in agriculture. A lot of people are farming. A lot of people have a little, piece of land somewhere. They decide to grow some tomatoes and sell to the local supermarket or whatever without having been properly versed in the elements or factors of agriculture. What do you need to do? When is the best time for seed time? When is the best time for harvest? When all of these things haven't been taken into consideration, right? We know, and we keep saying we know from across international organizations who tell us that agriculture is going to be the savior of this continent for in this decade and the next. So there's so many people who are entering into it, not because they necessarily want to know, but because they want to be able to get some kind of value, right?
Yeah.
But can you imagine the yield that we'll be able to get if people were actually trained?
And properly trained.
Yeah.
Not just going through a program so that you can get a degree, but actually properly getting trained. Timothy Oriedo, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Eric.
Thank you very much for joining us in the Situation Room.
Yes.
So tell us about the fourth industrial revolution, whether you agree with what the CS, Professor George Magoha, has been asking universities to do.
Yes. Actually, I'm pretty much in agreement because there is a broken pipe communication between the three parties. This is a corporate sector where the graduates are expected to go and work, academia, and the policy makers, who is now the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at this age and time, we are faced with the fourth industrial revolution, which is a transition from the third industrial revolution. And actually, if you look at the discussions going on on a global scale, especially at the World Economic Forum, it's actually calling for a recalibration of our education system to be able to equip our future workers with skills which are relevant with the new realities. Yeah, so a case in instance is one of the skills that we find a huge gap in the market right now, which is the space that I'm trying to fill.
Yeah.
That's data science. If you look at those courses which the universities are offering, there's nothing as close as to what that data science course is.
What is being offered in the public university?
You'll find actuarial science, you'll find statistics, you'll find mathematics, you'll find computers, programming. But data science is a confluence of 4 disciplines. There's a business application, we have the social sciences, we have computer and programming, and then mathematics. Yeah, so in as much as we're talking about creating demand for this profession, for these students, by the time they graduate, they need to find work. We are seeing a move towards the past where we are still equipping them with skills which are redundant.
Yeah.
And that's actually the market responding to it. So I think people are finding a need to do research in their own way and applying for courses which they feel might give them some bit of shelf life in the career space. And that's why you're seeing some of those courses being shunned away from, because I think information is democratized nowadays. People can do their own research. Yeah, but I think in the long term, we are going to hurt our economy
if we're not equipping the right skills to this future generation of workers. Yeah, because it means, number one, we're going to rely a lot on expatriates to deliver this. And then secondly, we're going to create a lot of gaps in our economy if we're not powering it towards the right, the right dimension of the fourth industrial revolution, which means, actually, fourth industrial revolution is knowledge-driven. If we lose it at the academia space, then it means
we
that
are lost.
we're going to fall behind the other countries and sectors.
How robust does the conversation need to be then? Because obviously this is something that is going to affect the outlook at a national policy level. To say that, we need to be looking forward in terms of fueling this conversation, those who are in the sector need to be able to say, this is what the country actually needs. And this is what we should be investing when it comes to education. This is what we need to be, putting into individuals then who are learning so that they can come and then essentially serve the country. How does that conversation then, where does it need to be taking place? In what sectors does that conversation need to be happening? I mean, I think right now it's going on in the minds of people, but it needs to come out to the fore. We've heard the CS talk about it, but it doesn't seem to me that it's actually progressing as a conversation onto action.
It's good you're asking that, and what I hope is not to have a knee-jerk reaction, which is fueled by the current situation of college degrees being shunned, no applicants in some courses. But what I want to see is a longevity in terms of these discussions happening at policy level. Perhaps actually multidisciplinary team to be constituted and to be able to critically assess these needs. Fortunately, for example, the World Economic Forum has come up with guidelines on some of these skills. I think we have a bandwagon effect where everyone's talking about TVET, but TVET is not really the answer. In fact, it actually takes us back to the second industrial revolution, because we are talking about robotic process automation. Most of these jobs that are being done by at TVET level now, in terms of innovation, we're talking about self-driving cars. We're talking about systems which can be able to predict events happening and rectify those events. So what are we doing if we're continuing equipping people in manual skills? So and again, one of the things I'm seeing, we're making a mistake by dumping down the critical skills which are imparted through the social sciences. I see an unfortunate situation where we are not training people in disciplines such as anthropology, psychology. And those are very critical skills which help understand how cultures behave. And actually it fuels some of these tech platforms. So you look at a tech platform such as Facebook, the way it mimics our human behavior. Those are not done by engineers, actually. They're done by social scientists.
It's a social scientist, yes.
So I think there's a need to look at a multidisciplinary team which puts together the different disciplines together.
What's the place of the industry, Timothy? I mean, not the industry basically, but the job market in terms of having a proper feedback to the education sector and saying this is where we are and these are the kind of skills that we need and looking forward.
So I think that one of the disciplines that need to plug into that policy is actually the Federation of Kenyan Employers. Such kind of bodies, KEPSA, Kenyanization of Manufacturers. I think these bodies need to come out critically and say, these are the skills which are currently experiencing deficiencies. Because, for example, now myself, I set up a lab that specifically targets already working professionals, and there's a term we use called retooling and reskilling the workforce. So you've already graduated with your traditional degree, but when you come to the workplace, you find yourself off the mark in terms of what's expected of you to deliver. So we've been able to design interventions, short-term, 3 months, 6 months interventions to give you at least the right skill to help you remain competitive in the emerging landscape. But ideally, what we're also trying to do is influence the downstream the value chain and look at the academia, and of course worked with a few universities locally just to ensure that they are recalibrating their educational curricula, trying to introduce these new courses which are going to help equip the workforce for the future in these skills. Because I think at the end of the day, employers will be hiring employees and then incurring extra costs to retrain them. And then secondly, we're going to have expatriates coming in at an extra cost. And then thirdly, we are going to have vendors. These softwares. So the software companies are going to fill a huge gap in some of these tools being brought in. And these tools could have been developed using the technology that we teach at the universities, at the university level. Because that's what's happening elsewhere.
Timothy, thank you very much for your contribution this morning.
All right.
Thank you for plugging in, and have a good day, and enjoy the rest of enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Timothy.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric, and a good show.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
0719-012-600 is the number to call and contribute. Let me pick this one, a comment on Facebook by David Peter Mutendeweso. He says, Eric, allow me to ask the CS to do his job instead of asking silly questions. Why? I remember some years back, we used to have school inspectors who were moving around schools, inspecting schools, teachers, and the running of schools. They are no more. Licensing of colleges and universities is under his ministry. Why does he or his ministry allow or give licenses to these colleges without conditions on how to run them? Does it mean that any Tom, Dick, and Harry or Anne, Mary, and Jane can just wake up and decide to open up a school or a college? No, come on, guys. That's his job. We should have rules and regulations, just proving himself to be incompetent. What happened to the Inspection and Regulations Department? He should give us the answers and stop asking silly questions.
Well, all right then.
I read it verbatim. This is what he thinks. 0719-012-600. What do you think? CS for Education, Professor Mago, has been asking universities, having in various fora, saying, look at the kind of programs that we have in our universities. Are they addressing the needs? Are you even getting the students that you were targeting to have applying for those courses? Do you have the capacity? Do you have the teaching staff? Do you have the facilities to to impart this knowledge? If you don't, just scrap that course.
Forget about it.
Forget about it and give what you can. Just focus on what you are good at.
Because then we have a lot of wastage of space. We have a lot of wastage of effort.
Yeah.
I mean, even effort onto something that is not going to get any kind of tangible results, unfortunately. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of space.
Many calls coming in, and producer Steve is picking them as we continue speaking. 0719-012-600, and also you can continue posting your comments on social media platforms, Spice FM KE on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. The conversation is on the quality of education. Like Timothy was saying, also let's listen to what is happening globally. Okay. So this is where the world is going. This is the new need in the market. If you're talking about the fourth revolution, what is it that we need to do to plug ourselves into this revolution? I mean, it's happening. If you're offering still some courses that are not addressing what we have, please stop lying.
Wasting time.
Paul Kinyanjui in Makueni, good morning.
Good morning, Spice FM.
Good morning.
Asante. Karibu sana to the Situation Room.
Asante sana. I'm just listening to your show.
Right.
You have a very nice show you do to us.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm a teacher. And I would like to also make my contribution.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I actually support what the Professor Magoha is doing. And actually, I would say this should have taken place long time ago. As teachers, we have so many students who, after high school, they don't know what to do because of the overemphasis in the university education. And one thing that is emerging currently is that, currently, if you look at the CBC and the TVET program, they coincide very well with the original intentions that were there. If you look at the African setting, in the traditional African form of education, which was training people on practical skills and apprentice and artistic skills. And I think that's where we are going back to. Yeah, the kind of education we have been having is so much theoretical.
It's theory.
It's a theory. Right now, if you look at most of the young people, they complain about so very small tasks that need to be done. Yeah, we call them the SASA generation. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the messages they write in the phone, they're short. They're just short. They just don't want to get tired.
But Mwalimu, are they very good at writing reports?
Let me say they are not good. One thing, they don't appreciate writing anymore. They want to do things quickly and shortcut. And when it comes to writing a report, they don't want to sit down and concentrate and do stuff.
Yeah.
And I think what needs to be done actually with the current CBC and the TVET, these are golden moments that our country has to do a lot of changes and overhaul of our education system. Look at during our time, we used to have home science and art and craft.
Yeah.
We had the 4K club, and we appreciated practical skills so much.
Yeah.
There was home science. Some of us still can sue from what we learned during those times. But today, the generation we have, very few of them can even replace a button on a shirt.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
Paul,
most of them.
the previous caller that we had was talking about. Look, some of these things that we're talking about are being replaced in the modern workplace by automation.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about that? I mean, sometimes maybe we are just still imparting on the same mechanical skills of the second revolution, and now we're in the fourth revolution.
This is what I have to say about that. I think we need first to accept our present moment. We can't leap overnight and get to automation instantly. We need to start appreciating and understand the history of where we've come from.
Yep.
And support the current innovations, designs, and inventions we have locally. And use the local resources we have before we get to that stage.
Good point. Thank you very much.
We can only do that.
Yes,
we can only do that with the Skills Through TVET program and CBC.
Asante.
And again, teaching ICT in primary schools, not calling it computer. We need software being taught even in primary schools.
Yeah, kids should know how to code.
They should know these things. It's not a wonder. Yeah.
Asante sana. Thank you, Paul. Can you enjoy calling in from Makueni. Robert in Nakuru, good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the Situation Room, Robert.
Yes. So today I was disappointed. You just won it out of somewhere, but you are back. Thank God.
Thank God. Yes, our engineers were working round the clock to get the 96.0 frequency back working. Yeah.
So concerning the education sector,
yes,
I believe he should be saying, or he should be working on a policy, not actually asking out or like helplessly. He should be working on a policy on how to make this university to have a specialized unit, to be kind of a specialized in particular things. Because we are doing the CBC. I think what the CBC is doing is what they think is life, which should be actually, they should be treated back in the university. If those runners are learning to get, when they get out of the high school, they are working on a CBC-based program.
Yeah.
Why not also roll out this to the university level, such as that they will not even, if it is music, they will not be, confused on where they are going to get in. They are just going to head on maybe on a musical university that is just built on music.
Which is clear that this one teaches university and has all the facilities required.
You can imagine I was somewhere when I was getting in a university somewhere.
Yes.
And I was given those the programs that they have, the courses, and I was a bit confused.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can guess what? I just choose the one that I felt, not actually thinking out, but I actually don't use it now. I'm a carpenter, but I had done civil engineering, but I don't do it anymore. Now I found what I should be doing is something else different.
So you went to university, studied civil engineering, and now the trade that you're practicing is carpentry.
Yep. And I did it in the geocali sector.
And you wish that you had learned this somewhere. I mean, in a better.
I wish I could have gone for it because you don't find somewhere where you can get these things fully fledged.
True.
Because you find that when we spread our wings so thinly, there is less impact. So a university wants to handle almost every course, and you find that it is not going to go to the deeper. It is just going to highlight on the issues of those courses, not getting to the deeper of things.
Thank you, Robert. You have a good day in Nakuru.
Thank you.
Martin in Kitangala.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, everyone there.
Yes.
Good morning and welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to comment on the same.
Yes.
In addition to what the CS said
Mm-hmm.
about universities shunning programs that should be able to address the current problems in the market. I think also, in addition to that, our candidates or students, they need also to be mentored on the area of professions to take.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I look at the courses that of the students didn't choose, some of them are very good. I'll give you an example, if you allow me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Egerton University, agribusiness.
Yep.
Currently in the country, we are facing a shortage of extension officers.
Yep.
Who could be able to be mentoring farmers
Yep.
on areas of marketing, on areas of value addition in agriculture.
Yep.
You look at automotive engineering, most of the organizations, including the government, we need people we call transport managers. However, to get somebody who has done automotive engineering is not easy. So you find HR officers taking up that position.
Yeah.
We also have entrepreneurship, BA. Currently, the youth are facing a lot of problems starting businesses.
Yes.
Yet we don't have professionals who can do mentoring in incubations for businesses.
Yeah.
Lastly, for example, there's this BA in social geography from KU.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at most of the tenders for infrastructure, roads, for example, they require people to do or to advise on effects of building infrastructures to the community.
Yeah.
And I keep on checking the professionals who normally are incorporated in such projects. And you find we have a few professionals who are specialized in that. They keep on appearing in tenders, for example. So what I'm trying to say is this. What we require are specialist people in the market. However, the youth are not
They
aware.
need to be mentored. They need to be shown this is what's trending, so to speak.
Exactly. And in fact, if you want to know, like some of us who have done a general degree, for example, when you want to start a business, the problems that are there in the market, you need to have done a very specialized course
on them.
So that means you have to go back and do something specialized
to specialize in it.
Yeah, and you offer solutions to the market. So we need youth to be mentored on that also.
Thank you very much, Martin. Very good points.
Welcome.
Have a good day. The conversation continues on our social media platforms, Spice FM KE on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And in the next hour, we're going to be switching gears a little bit. So as we conclude on that, that issue of mentoring of students, I think that's a very important bit.
It's a big deal. If you remember,
And I think KUSUPS has a role to play in this.
for sure.
Because you're the ones who are going to, you have the lay of the land, so to speak, on what happens in each university, each TVET, each college. Come and tell the students this is what is happening and plug in the industry. Bring in the Federation of Kenya Employers, the industry associations. Let them come and speak to students and tell them this is what we are offering.
There was an explosion of mentoring and entrepreneurship some time ago, but it was clear that the entrepreneurship took center stage and the mentoring was forgotten.
Yeah.
And mentoring doesn't mean that you make somebody feel very good about their lives and then getting into the future and taking on the position of life coach. But it also means that you let them know what could the market possibly offer in the future for which your expertise could then provide a perfect match. And I think those are the things that we need to go back to look through. We have people doing jobs that they're not trained to do. So you can imagine if somebody was trained to do a job, you can imagine the results that they would be able to produce by virtue of the fact that they're putting their training to practice.
Let's go to the top of the hour and then talk about something different. Eritrean proverb. If you hear a mad man talking, wait for a minute and you will soon hear what makes people think that he's mad. If you hear a madman talking, just don't judge him and say, oh, this is a madman. No, just wait for a minute, listen to what he's saying, and then you'll understand what makes people think that he's mad. You may actually realize that, no, he's not mad. He has a very strong point. He has valid points. He's looking to the future. It's just that everybody else is stuck in the past.
Oh, you're mad.
Oh, you're mad. It's a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock.
All right, so it looks like still a bit of a problem on Mombasa, right around Cabanas, leading to General Motors. We'll get out of that without a problem, and we know that that's where the hotspot is, right? So patience is what is required to deal with Nairobi traffic. Okay, promise you that we will look into what's going on in Kisumu and what is going on in Mombasa and other cities around the country, and the truth of the matter is that not much. It looks like it's flowing quite easily for traffic in most of these towns. Nairobi outbound on Thika Road, however, still does have some issues, and we'll be able to get out of that rather quickly, we hope. Spice of MKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. We'll look at it in about half an hour again and see what it looks like, but for now, you should be okay.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. New Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Lattis, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
Facebook,
this
YouTube,
is the
and Twitter. Now, we had promised that we're going to have a conversation with the U.S. ambassador today. Unfortunately, the U.S. ambassador has told us that he's had to take up a call with Washington around the same time that we wanted to have a conversation with him. So when the boss calls, you drop spice. Okay? When the boss calls, you drop spice. Tomorrow is the 6th of June, 2020. The whole country is waiting.
With bated breath,
breath for the 6th of June, 2020. Now, if you ask very many people, they'll tell you, oh, freedom is coming tomorrow.
No.
What's going to happen? Are we going to see a lifting of these measures? Are we going to see a full reopening of the economy? Is the president indicating that he's willing to do this? Is the National Emergency Response Committee comfortable and confident that we can now reopen the economy? Have we really dealt with the coronavirus? Have we stopped the spread of COVID-19 in the community? Yesterday, we had 124 new cases confirmed. Out of how many tests? 2,000 and something.
Yes, over 2,000.
Over 2,000 tests. 124 tested positive. We have seen what the CS for Health said yesterday, that yes, we still have these cases. There's still a lot of community spread, especially in Nairobi and Mombasa. And it's going into new areas as well, and new estates within Nairobi where these cases are coming up. And he's saying we have taken so many people out of their communities and isolated them at these facilities. At the Mbagathi Hospital, at the KU Teaching and Referral Hospital, we have taken these people there. And what we've been expecting is that what we are doing basically is trying to slow the spread of this virus by bringing people who test positive, putting them in these isolation centers. We know that 80% of these people are completely asymptomatic. So when they're in KU Teaching and Referral Hospital, they're not getting any medication.
Nope.
They're just being fed. It's accommodation. It's basically a lodging. Come stay here for 14 days.
And then you may go if you're
and then
okay
this virus does what it's doing. You test negative, you go back to the community. And now they're saying, let's start also thinking about rolling out home-based care, a home-based care approach, because KU and Bagathi are full
to capacity. I think the words that they were using were overflowing.
Overflowing.
At some point, and not being able to take in anybody else. look, there's a lot that can be said for releasing of measures. There's a lot that can be said for that. And I think it's interesting to look at some of the countries for which, lockdown measures now will ease and how they're going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And then for those who started lockdown measures and then had to retract on those decisions by virtue of the fact that they saw an increased number of cases. But let's look at the poster child for this in the world. New Zealand. Now, New Zealand, like we said, is on the cusp of saying, I can't quite believe it, as New Zealand tiptoes towards elimination of corona. So let's get this clear. They're not talking about no new cases. They're not talking about maybe we can only just release on the measures. They're talking about an end to COVID-19,
There's
to
no
coronavirus
COVID
in New Zealand.
In New Zealand.
And why is that? An anonymous lady who was the last one to have been confirmed, who was the last case to have been confirmed in New Zealand, scientists expect to be able to declare next week that the nation is virus-free, because she was the last confirmed case and she was then released from hospital. With the 1,400 and so odd cases that they actually came about within New Zealand, they have been able to treat the majority of them, 1,507, treated 1,418. Unfortunately, they lost 22, and the last case has been allowed to go home. For the last 11 days, they have not received any new cases. Everybody's home from hospital. Unfortunately, those who died, they've been able to say goodbye to. No new cases. Next week, they'll be able to say virus-free. However, that doesn't mean that they just open the floodgates and let everybody start romping about.
Yeah.
No. They're saying that they're going to stagger this thing, and that they're going to say that from next week, according to the Prime Minister, and what they've been able to do is that they would like to look at a situation that is something next to normal, right? They want to say it's not entirely back to normal, but they're starting to do very many things that will allow them get back there. With the high...
Maybe we can start with what is the abnormal right now? What's the status of things in New Zealand now? Who's allowed to go where and do what? Essential
services only. And essential services are medical services, and then supermarkets, and then hospital runs for medicine and such. Schools were closed. People were working from home. Very few government offices operated with person-to-person contact. And so many people were not in the streets. Public transport, at the same time, was little to none. And so this is what they were looking at. And by virtue of the fact that they did not, they did not really force the people, but in terms of a lockdown, there was a lockdown. And those in quarantine, out of quarantine now. So then what are they going to be able to do? They're now going to start opening places of worship. They're now going to start saying that although mask wearing is mandatory for everybody, and sanitizing your hands and washing your hands and hygiene and such like is also mandatory, they're going to start seeing the open parks had been abandoned. Social and physical distancing was something that they saw and they were taking quite seriously. So now they're going to start seeing that people can now start going into restaurants. People will now start going to parks and recreational facilities. People will now start being able to go to places of worship. However, it's going to be staggered. And they're going to start seeing this. They thought that they would be able to do it from the 18th of June, but they're actually going to start from the 6th of June, which is tomorrow, and say that, you can start doing this on a very small scale, and then we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, this is the poster child, which is New Zealand. And then now we have other countries that are emerging out of a lockdown. Remember when he spoke to the ambassador of Ireland, he was telling us that, yes, from this month, they are starting to reopen, and it's going to be staggered over 3 months, right? It's going to be step by step. From this point, we allow people to come out. You can go to the parks. You're not going to go into crowded places. You can meet your friends in the parks. You can go to this and those other places. But for 3 weeks, we observe. After 3 weeks, if we are happy with what we see, then now we're going to new measures, increasing the number of measures where we are reopening.
Yeah.
Now, the truth be told is that if we compare that to our country, Kenya, is not under like the kind of lockdowns that we have seen in those countries where people have been told stay at home, people have been told do not go to parks, don't go to public places. Kenya, we still have had permission to go to places. People can still go to parks. The only thing is that we say, for example, in golf clubs, close the club house itself, but the park is still open. Our national parks are still open. You can still go as long as you observe physical distancing. The only thing that we know is that churches, because we know it's a congregated place where you're meeting within the confines of the four walls or the four corners of the tent, so to speak, you are not going. Schools closed, but you can go to work as long as you reduce the number of people who are going to work. Have as many people as possible working from home. This was rolled out even at the Standard Group, where many of our colleagues have been working from home, have been taking leave.
Yeah.
So now there's the whole issue of if we begin to reopen. So when we expect the president to make announcements tomorrow, it's not that he's going to say, now you can get out of your house.
Eric, this is what people are expecting. And I don't think we can run away from that reality. People are expecting the president to come and say, okay, Una, don't try. You have been okay. Life as we know it, back to normal. People are expecting. The number of people that I have spoken to on a personal level who are saying to themselves, okay, so he's going to release this thing, and the first thing I'm going is that I'm ready. My family, we're planning to travel up country, to Shags, to wherever. You would be surprised at the number of people who are ready.
We want to get out of here.
Yeah, because something might happen. Look, we're going to get out of here because something might happen tomorrow, and they tell us that we can't go. So let's get out now while we can.
So where do they want to go?
To the village.
To do what?
To at least you be there, you get food, and it's cheaper than it is here.
So the reason why many would want to leave Nairobi to go up country
is
the cost factor.
Yes.
It's because of what's happening to the economy.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So are they not thinking about what they're going to do in terms of going back to what you were doing before these measures were put in place economically? What were you doing on a daily basis?
Before COVID.
Before COVID.
Yeah, you had an office for whom now you don't. You worked in an office, for
example,
and you ran a business, or you've been laid off, for example. But a lot of the people who are on forced leave, for example, they don't expect to be called back to the office tomorrow because of whatever the president is going to say. Right? It's going to take some time before that happens. And they're cognizant of this fact. So, all right. So if he's going to is it going to open up places, here's an opportunity for me to go home and at least just be there, because I'm not doing anything in Nairobi anyway. And it's becoming more and more expensive.
And as I look at myself and the way I'm feeling, I'm COVID-free anyway.
So I mean, what's the problem?
I haven't gone to hospital with COVID.
No.
So me, I don't have COVID.
No.
I can go to Shags. It's anybody else who goes to Shags that is likely to take the COVID to Shags, but not me.
Nope. Those guys.
It's everybody else who could take COVID out of Nairobi, but not me.
No.
Okay. So that's what people are expecting. That Nairobi Metropolitan, the cessation of movement inside and into and out of Nairobi is going to be opened. And people can leave Nairobi. People can leave Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi. That's what number one people are expecting.
Yeah,
then there's the other group that's expecting that the curfew, 7 to 5 a.m., is going to be lifted. No more curfew at all.
I said, even like you look at domestic workers, for example, who have not been anywhere, because usually the practice is that you're working during the week, and then come Saturday or Sunday, your employer allows you to go off for a couple of days and come back. And, I like to do some spot checks sometimes.
Yep.
And people are expecting that they will be able to go to church on Sunday, this Sunday, the day after tomorrow. People are expecting that Uhuru Kenyatta is going to announce, and they're ready. Sunday, I will be able to go to church.
Church is already calling the ushers.
Yes.
Brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so, be ready.
Sunday,
Who
is going to speak? But interestingly enough,
you'll serve the first service, and sister so and so you'll serve the second service.
Health CS Mutahi Kagwe said yesterday, nobody has said anything about opening up. So it is clear that these messages that you and I are talking about in this room, Eric, have reached their ears. Kenyans are not being silent about this. Kenyans believe that this thing is going to be opened up. They just want to know in which detail. So by the time he's opening his mouth and making such a statement yesterday, it has reached their ears that Kenyans are expecting this thing be opened up.
In South Africa, the reopening of the economy has been gradual. All right. So they have 5 stages. They had reached up to stage number 4. So the president said, let's go back to stage number 3, allow some bit of movement. And he said from the 1st of June, we are now going into further easing of these measures, but with strict adherence to what we've been pushing for. Social distancing rules must be adhered with completely and strictly. That's when we saw him saying, all right, so We know you guys have been thirsty. We had completely outlawed any sale of alcoholic beverages. Now we can allow the sale of alcoholic beverages. Yes. What did we see? Hey, queues upon queues in liquor stores in South Africa. People even dancing and shouting and coming up with bands, brass bands, to play as they get into
they wait for
as they go
come.
to buy their drink. All right, people buying drinks in liquor stores, not in bars. You can buy. In Kenya, people are expecting that you will be told bars and nightclubs are open. COVID aside, I'm telling you, people have never been afraid. People have never been afraid of this COVID. That President Uhuru is going to say, now it's okay. Bars and restaurants can open from tonight, 7 p.m. This tomorrow. President Uhuru to say that in this country.
Yep. People, I'm telling you, Eric, people are expecting it to open. People are expecting it to open.
But they don't want children to go back to school.
No, children should not go back to school.
And Francisca was saying, what is the problem?
But now, it was interesting because Francisca talked about children being allowed to go back to school, not because of the fact that she wants the learning to continue, but because of the fact that the burden on the pocket while they're at home is a little bit too high.
And also, they're out here, what's happening
they're playing anyway.
They're playing, and there's a bigger risk, especially for the teenagers, according to what Francisca was telling us, from Mombasa. She was telling us these kids are getting into drugs, they're getting into bad company, boys are talking to girls are talking to boys. What's going to happen? How many pregnancies are we going to be dealing with in December? Right? And you're telling us about COVID. Which COVID, anyway? That's what Francisca was saying. People, open up schools. So, according to Francisca and others like her, students should go back to school. According to those who are thirsty, bars should be open.
Yes.
According to those who want to go to shags, remove the restrictions for Nairobi.
Please let people be able to travel.
Let people go wherever they want to go. It's a free country. Kenya is a free country. I want to go to Malaba. I can go to Malaba. This is what people are saying.
People are not afraid of COVID. I'm telling you, people actually are not. The numbers that we see of people getting a little bit nervous are actually in the minority. And this, look, we can, make fun of it, but I think that is actually something that is quite serious. Because again, yesterday, after what we saw of the different strains now that are present in Kenya of COVID, likelihood of people getting infected and then presenting with other symptoms that you didn't expect before are going to come out. Let's take a look at what happened in Ghana, for example. Or do you want us to go to a break?
Tell us about Ghana, and then we go into a break.
Okay, so President Akufo-Addo, rather, on Sunday, lifted the ban on social gatherings, including places of worship, and said that, in line with social distancing, he said mosques and churches should host worshippers at 25% their capacity.
Okay.
So now he had ways in which this was going to happen. And he was advised, of course, by his Ministry of Health. And they said, 25% of the people who normally go should go to church. However, even within that 25%, there should not be more than 100 people in one place at a time. So if you have 8,000 people, 10,000 people that come to your church normally, when we say 25%, that means that you will tell us now that 2,000 people should come into church or 2,500 people should come. That is okay. However, we're saying even if we have said 25% capacity, there will not be more than 100. Okay? That was the first thing. And those are the only people who will be able to worship at one time in a church or a mosque with mandatory 1 meter rule of social distancing between congregants.
Okay.
At any one time. So now, whether you choose to have 10 services in a day,
Shaurienu, as long as you only have 25% of the capacity inside the facility.
Right. And while you're doing all this, you must wear your masks. The maintaining of of hygiene must be kept. Washing hands outside, hand sanitizer, and the like. This must happen now. And before each use of these 100 people, the areas of worship, church, mosque, temple, whatever, must be sanitized completely. Now, there was also the easing of measures on political activities, weddings, marketplaces, and government and private offices. So by the time they're saying that there was an easing of measures, you must understand that all of these places had been shut down completely. Marketplaces were not operating. Yes?
There were no markets?
No. In Ghana. No, they were not joking.
So how are people getting food and the supplies?
they also did a feeding program, but like in terms of the big market, because we must understand that in West Africa, a lot of West African
it was controlled access to the
it was
markets.
controlled.
Okay.
West African markets are huge open markets, huge. Take Gikomba and multiply by about 5 or 6.
That's Nairobi.
Exactly. It's true.
So you take
we have market cities in West Africa,
right?
So a lot of these now were shut down, and there was controlled access to them. So now what he was saying is that now we're going to open up slowly, and we know that this lockdown was a month, and they had started easing measures, and then they went back. They did the same thing that Rwanda did, and they said, "Oh, this cannot happen." They had a confirmed total case of load of 8,700 cases and 36 deaths so far in the country. Now, what they wanted to do was now say, okay, we can understand that people are being injured economically. So we're going to start opening this up just a little bit. Just a little bit. And this is what we're saying. Mind you, we're checking. So he also said that he did not mention anything else. It's just as he did not talk about schools. He did not talk about, these are the ones that we're going to open up for now. And as the government, we're checking. You flout,
we go back. Hey, 20 after 9, let's take a look at weather, and then the conversation continues. We are looking at what other countries have done, their measures of lifting of restrictions, and how they've gone about it, and how they had even gone into those restrictions in the first place. Good morning.
All right, let's look at the weather conditions this morning and how that has changed over time. 16 degrees, mostly sunny conditions, highs of 26 and lows of 12. Nyeri then at partly cloudy conditions at 16, highs of 24 and lows of 13. Nakuru is going to be wet this afternoon, 25 degrees the high and lows of 13. Eldoret at 22 degrees, thunderstorms forecasted for later. Highs of, yes, we said 22 and lows of 13. Kisumu, 28 degrees is going to be the high today and lows of 19 with partly cloudy conditions. Kakamega, mostly cloudy conditions with highs of 26 and lows of 16 with rainy conditions later on. Malindi at 29 degrees, highs of 29 and lows of 25 with rainy conditions later on. Mombasa is mostly cloudy, currently 27 degrees, highs of 29 and lows of 24. In Kampala at 19 degrees, it will be highs of 27 and lows of 18 with showers in the afternoon. Dar es Salaam at 26 degrees takes us to highs of 31 and lows of 24. Take a quick look into Johannesburg then, where it's quite cool, even with sunny conditions at 7 degrees, highs of 19 and lows of 4. Lagos takes us to mostly cloudy conditions with highs of 31 and lows of 24, currently standing at 26. We'll take a last look then into Europe, where Paris is partly cloudy at 12 degrees and the rains will come in later with highs of 18 and lows of 12. London this morning is already raining, 11 degrees, and it'll continue well into the weekend with highs of 16 and lows of 7. And finally in New York, 24 degrees and partly cloudy, highs of 26 and lows of 20 with thunderstorms forecasted for most of the day.
After 9, the conversation continues. We are looking at other countries and how they went into lockdown and how they come out of lockdown measures. Ndu, you're telling us about Ghana and the kind of measures that Ghana went into in the first place, and now the lockdown protocols. I mean, the reopening protocols, how they've been put in place. South Africa, like we said, South Africa had even gone to a point of banning the sale of alcohol and cigarettes.
Yeah.
Then the president said, all right, I understand you guys are thirsty, so I'm going to open the sale of alcohol for domestic consumption only. And this is going to be strictly regulated on certain days within certain hours. So when we saw those long queues, it's because people are beating that deadline. It's only open within certain times, so you can go and buy as much alcohol as you want and go and take it home. But bars closed. In Kenya, sale of alcohol for home domestic consumption is open. sale of alcohol at restaurants during the day is open. So what is this that we're complaining about, that we want more measures to come in place so that we can open bars? Why?
Is it because of the
If
opening?
you're thirsty, go and buy alcohol and have and take it home.
In your house?
Yeah.
That's the issue.
What's the problem?
People are looking for some kind of social...
The socialization.
Yeah, it's a socialization. People have been away from each other for some time.
This is a social disease.
Well, that is the fact that it is a social disease. But that's what I'm telling you. The fear of corona is not real. The fear of corona, the fear of COVID-19 is still not real, and I'm hard pressed to see anybody who would convince me otherwise. And we heard the CS talk about it. He's been talking about it every time he has taken to that podium. He has talked about the fact that, honestly speaking, I don't understand what it is. What do you want us to do? What is it that we must say for you all to realize that this thing is actually serious? People do die from it. Yes, we understand that 80% of those cases are asymptomatic, but people actually do die from it.
Yeah.
And we could see that this could progress further when he talked about a change in the kind of symptoms that we would see. It could affect people differently going forward. So the best thing to do is to be careful at this point in time. All right. Now, if you continue to look at other countries where lockdown measures eased or changed, and then things had to go differently. Let's look at the United States, where they started talking about the fact that, they also wanted to get social once again. And then you had throngs of people in Florida, for example, going to the beach on the same day that the highest number of cases were recorded in that state on the day. So then you have to ask yourselves, how was this going and what was it that needed to be done? Let's look at Germany. Museums and shops were starting to be opened, and this was about 3 days ago, whereby they started opening schools and then they recalled that. But then they now went back and said, public places had been at a standstill. Schools, businesses, restaurants, shops, churches, they have either reopened or are about to, with strict social distancing measures. And some are even talking about going on summer holidays. There's some new freedoms now that they've been given. Regional leaders now have to pay, or rather, religious leaders now have to make sure that they also are maintaining social distancing. The parks are opened, but some are worrying that Germany is lifting its lockdown restrictions way too quickly.
Yeah.
They're asking and saying that, it's nice to be out, because you must understand that these are the summer months that they're getting into now, and people are used to being out at this time, because in terms of the sun, they don't get much. And they're saying that these are the times where people would have gone to the beaches, people would have traveled to other countries to enjoy the sun that the summer offers. But now this has changed, and people want to be out, but people are scared by the fact that they're not sure if there will be an increased number of cases. But now basically they're opening up, not with as stringent as we see in New Zealand, where it's very clear what everybody's going to be doing here on this day and how it's going to roll out. But we see that they're opening up and they're taking a chance with what infections might be.
Okay. So let me take you to Rwanda. 2 days ago, earlier in the week, we saw that the government of Rwanda had reopened, right? Allowed people to go back to work. Rwanda had gone into full lockdown, especially in Kigali.
Yeah.
Proper full lockdown, stay indoors. We know the people who require government assistance, we are going to take that assistance to them. The rest of you, stay indoors. And if you wanted to go out for any reason, you want to go out to the market or to the shops, you needed to just go to your mobile phone. There's a USSD code, you make an application, and then the police service responds and tells you, yes, you're allowed to go, or no, you're not allowed to go at this time. And the reason for that would be because of the number of people that they have allowed to go. So they were minimizing the number of people outdoors at any given moment. And then a couple of weeks back now, they were allowing people to go to work at least 3 times a week. You can go to work, but still reduce the movements. Then they started noticing a spike at the border towns, especially in the border with DRC, Rusizi. And they said, because we have seen 5 cases, buses coming and leaving Rwanda metropolitan region to upcountry, we are not going to allow them again anymore. Borders, they're called moto in Rwanda, stop operating. Cabinet met on Tuesday, and the office of the Prime Minister released a statement. These measures will be reviewed after 15 days upon health assessment. Okay? So the measures are still in place and they'll be reviewed after 15 days. Mass screening and testing will continue nationwide. Masks must be worn in public at all times. All resumed services must continue adhering to the health guidelines. All traders are required to accept digital payments as an alternative form of payment, just similar to what we have in Kenya. Movement is prohibited from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So their curfew is from 9 to 5. Now, services that are to continue. Public and private businesses will continue with essential staff while other employees continue working from home. Non-contact outdoor sports is permitted. The Ministry of Sports will share detailed guidelines. Non-contact outdoor sports.
That's like tennis.
Or jogging.
Oh, right. Okay.
Athletics, you can run. You're no contact.
Okay.
Football, rugby.
Basketball, not happening.
No.
Okay.
Motors are permitted to carry passengers except in Rusizi and Rubavu districts. This follows a recent COVID-19 assessment across the country. Strict hygiene must be observed and masks worn at all times. So there, border borders, there's nothing of there's no cop so we can carry 4 people on the border. No. Strictly, always border carries 1 passenger and you must wear the helmet. Now they said you are allowed to continue operating except in those border towns of Rusizi and Rubavu districts there, because we've seen cases, no borders operating there. Public and private transport between provinces shall resume except movement to and from Rusizi and Rubavu. So those border districts are the ones that are now been locked down. The rest of the country,
Continue.
it's okay. You can continue operating. Funeral gatherings should not exceed 30 persons. Civil marriage ceremonies will continue but should not exceed 15 persons. Services to remain closed. Borders will remain closed except for goods and cargo. Public transport within Rusizi and Rubavu is closed. Schools will remain closed until September. Places of worship will remain closed. Mass gatherings in public places and homes is prohibited. And all bars will remain closed. This is not discussion. This is what Rwanda is saying. Bars closed. Churches, pressure from church. Oh, government is saying,
Closed.
Closed. Any mass gathering that has more than 30 people, not allowed. But let's start getting back into life. And the president of Rwanda was participating in a meeting that was chaired by our president yesterday. And he was also talking the same thing and saying, you know what, we need to be cognizant of the fact that we have to fight. We have to fight this thing together. We cannot allow COVID-19, effects of COVID-19 will persist long after the virus is defeated. And the road to recovery will be long. Increased cooperation and mutual interdependence will be the hallmark of effective international response. He's telling Tanzania, you know, guys,
we understand that we're neighbors,
but let's cooperate. We
just,
cannot fight this thing. And same thing with Kenya. We cannot fight this thing. So these are the, kind of measures that we're seeing. Uganda, it's the same. In Kenya, truth be told is that our government went very fast into locking down where they saw these are the high-risk areas. Schools go back. Schools closed. The hospitals, let's reduce movement into hospitals. Prison facilities, let's contain the prisoners within the prison facilities, reduce visitors, in fact, ban visitors to prison facilities, right? All that. And by and large, prison facilities, we have not seen many cases in those prison facilities. We have not seen many cases in all these areas, right? So we're going to speak to the government, this cabinet Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Rashid Aman, is joining us now on the line. Dr. Rashid, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much for speaking to us and welcome to the Situation Room on Spice FM.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Dr. We start off with, we've been seeing now, we are in the triple-digit cases per day. 1, 2, 3 the day before yesterday, 1, 2, 4 yesterday. And you've been saying when you're giving the briefing is that this clearly is an indication that we have community transmission. It's still ongoing community transmission, and the measures that have been put in place, some are working, and you still have to keep reviewing and seeing what's working, what's not. As we go towards the 6th of June, when the dates for all these measures, some of them are expiring, and we're expecting some feedback. What would you like to say is, what have you seen as the National Emergency Response Committee? What have you seen working, and what are the challenges that you've encountered so far?
Well, first let me say that when we say community transmission,
it's no longer an issue of whether we have community transmission or not. I think we have it. That's why you see us picking up positives all the time.
Yes.
The number of positives that we are able to pick on any day is also a function of the scope of testing that we do.
Yep.
You can see the correlation that the more testing we do, obviously it's expected that we'll pick up more positives.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And the reason why we have moved up to double digits and so on is partly because of the expanded scope of testing that we are doing, the targeted testing that we are doing, and all of that. So that is expected that numbers will increase. But beyond that, what does this information tell us? This information tells us, number one, that community transmission is established.
Yep.
That we go to any place around the country now and start doing some level of testing, targeted testing, we are likely to pick up.
Yes.
But key is how many are we picking up in any particular area when you segregate these places. So those areas which we segregate and we tend to go in those places are places where we feel that there's more transmission there, simply maybe because those were areas that initially the contacts of people who were positive were, because you know how this thing is passed on from every person may possibly be able to pass it off to anything from 2 to 5 to 10 people, depending on the level of contact.
Yep.
So our testing strategy is also guided by the contact tracing that we do, those pathways that we develop that tell us these are areas to watch out for. So we go in and do that testing there. And indeed, if we find high numbers, then a measure is taken, is put in place.
Right.
Examples: what happened in Kilifi,
Yeah.
in Mombasa County, Nairobi County itself, and closing off of these counties, and then specifically within some of these counties, you go to particular areas which are clusters. Vita, for example, Old Town in Vita in Mombasa, Eastleigh in Kamkunji here in Nairobi.
Yep.
You put in those measures because you think those numbers you're not too comfortable with them as they begin to rise. So testing is key for us, and the more testing we do, the more we are able to unearth, and the more interventions then specific in particular areas that we can put in place. I believe that these measures that we have been, repeatedly encouraging Kenyans to observe are important.
Yeah.
These are the measures that have worked in other places. This is an infectious disease that spreads so fast. Its infectivity is very high. In other words, the ability for it to be able to spread to other people through very simple procedures of being close contact, the exchange of air through either sneezing or even simple breathing sometimes, or touching surfaces. It's unprecedented. I think there are a number of viruses that, of course, are spread. Respiratory viruses are spread through these systems, but this one is just too. It spreads too easily and too fast.
Yes.
And that is why we must have these social distancing, physical distancing measures, the hand washing, the hygiene. Those interrupt the transmission cycle of the virus. These viruses, most viruses, by the way, apart from a few, actually do not have any treatment, complete treatment that will stop them in their tracks. And coronavirus is a new virus. We are learning more about it by the day. We need to contain it, and the best way to contain it is to have these measures that have been put in place. And they do work. It's been shown in other countries they do work. If they are observed diligently, they will work.
Is there a shortage?
Yes.
Doctor, is there a shortage of testing kits in the country? Are we going to get into that rut, or are we looking at that increasing?
We are working as a government to try to stabilize that supply chain. There is indeed a shortage worldwide, not only in Kenya. There is a shortage worldwide because this is a pandemic. Every country in the world is affected, and you can imagine the demand, unforeseen demand, because these systems have been there before, the test kits. Basically, the instruments and some of the components of the test kits have been around for a while, used for other tests, you see. But now they're largely being consumed for COVID-19 testing. So you see, they are overrun in terms of supplies. The manufacturers have to scale up. Countries where these products are manufactured are first taking care of themselves, and other countries. So countries like ours, low middle income countries, we are at the end of the queue.
So we get bulldozed basically out of the queue.
We're at the end of the queue, but we are trying through even our continental organization. AU has been in the forefront actually, pushing through the Africa CDC, pushing for these allocations for African countries. And I have seen the situation slowly improve, because many of the manufacturing companies have scaled up their production lines and increased it, which is going to improve with time. But we will continue to face shortages now and then.
But Dr. Rashid,
the supply line is not steady.
What we've seen in the last couple of days, it appears like we have a new biting shortage. In terms of, the number of tests that we are doing now has even reduced. Last week we had got into a number of days when we were doing at least 3,000 tests. Now we are doing less than 3,000 tests on a daily basis. And then there are also those complaints from people who are expecting to get their test results. Their samples have been taken and the results are not coming back. And there's a backlog at KNH and Kemri. What's causing this?
It is the supply chain that will cause this backlog. The supply chain will cause this backlog. What we're doing is, in order to be able to do large-scale testing, we shifted to a mix of testing methodologies. We are using some high-throughput instruments that we have within our facilities that can test large numbers of tests. These instruments are closed systems, closed in the sense that the reagents that go in there are specifically prepared by the manufacturer of that instrument. Some of these instruments, for example, is what is called the Cobas, the Roche Cobas instrument. Roche prepares the commodities that are required for that. And we receive, when we place an order, say we received, I think, 18,200 of these tests. We start applying those quickly. That is when our numbers started going up to 3,000. We are able to sustain that for, 2 weeks maybe. Then we run out of those. By the time we are running out of those, the resupply has not come in because of these problems with the supply chain globally. So we are going to see these lulls or lowering of testing as we go along. But we are also building up on the so-called manual testing, where we're using machines that require a little bit of human processing time of samples. I think the more we because these are smaller machines, there are machines that are portable, easily can be put in a particular point. So really, I think part of our strategy too moving forward is going to be to try to build up this capacity of testing and move it into those places where it is required. In other words, try to decentralize and not just rely on a central throughput system, because it could give you problems at some point. So we have this mix of strategy that we are working on to try to address how we can be able to continually maintain our level of testing. But again, all of this is dependent on the supply chain. But I think once you diversify your supplier, people who are supplying you with the commodities, I think you're also able then to be able to deal with some of the problems in the supply chain.
Dr. Why not for the fact that we are not seeing very many cases in this country requiring intensive care? Why not for that fact? Don't you think that those supply chain challenges would have actually cost us our fight against this disease? Basically, what I'm saying is the kind of response that we are seeing human beings in Kenya giving to the virus is what is fighting this disease more than all these other things, like, testing. It's not really our testing capacity is compromised, and everything else has challenges.
You see, testing is important because it's only after testing that you know there is a virus present, right?
Yeah, yes.
So testing is key. However, I know what you're talking about. You're basically what people are talking about and seeing is the trajectory of this disease different in African countries?
Yeah.
What is happening? Why are we, we know that about 70 to 80% of people who we when we test have the virus are not critically ill people. A large number of them are asymptomatic. They do not display any symptom, but yet they are carrying the virus. They may not even know they're carrying the virus. And they may spreading the virus. So I think that there's some level of comfort in what we are seeing, but I think it would also be, we don't want to be complacent and start, ascribing reasons why this is, that will make us complacent, because we need scientific evidence. This thing is being looked at very carefully. A body of knowledge will emerge as we move forward. Are we handling this disease in a different way in African countries? Are factors such as immunity, environmental factors, many other factors, people have even talked about BCG vaccination in the past, and so on. Do these factors, are they actually associated with the pattern that we are seeing? We don't know yet.
Right.
We don't even know yet where we are really on this curve. Is this curve going to hit an exponential at some point?
It's interesting that you say that, Dr.
We need to be very cautious and continue doing what we think works.
Okay, so if we're saying that we don't know, I mean, and that's where you're ending this last statement on, is that we really don't know where this thing is taking us. Now, if we want to put that against what would a lot of Kenyans are speculating on now, and the fact that maybe a conversation will be had from tomorrow about opening up the economy, but we're still asking Kenyans to do the same thing that we've been asking them to do in terms of maintaining social distance and physical distance and washing hands and wearing masks, this, that, the other thing. And we are looking at the possibility of the economy opening up again. And we don't know. Is it possible then to have these decisions made on something that we don't know?
The truth of the matter is that this is a pandemic. While it is primarily a health issue, it is affecting livelihoods, isn't it?
Yes.
True. It is affecting, it is affecting the economy. It's disrupting almost every the way we are used to in life, everything almost. So, and it's not an easy decision-making process to determine where do you strike the balance, right?
Yeah.
Because it has to be a balance.
Yeah.
It has to be a balance that can ensure you that you are able to manage to some extent, perhaps not even fully, the containment of the virus, but at the same time, you are not completely destroying the means of livelihood of the population.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult decision that cannot be informed by any evidence, because that evidence may not be available. We don't know what trajectory that evidence will lead you to. That is why even models can give you an indication, but models are not the gospel truth in terms of telling you what might happen. So there has to be some level of political and other decisions that may have to be coming while maintaining a balance. But the balance is delicate; it has to be maintained. If you ask me if you look at what's happening in other countries, take the U.S. for example. They grappled with the same thing. Every country has grappled with this issue. What are we going to kill our economy? What do we do? Maybe we need to have some level of gradual, relaxing of certain measures, but at the same time, understand that you could have in those countries what we're seeing is what they're calling spikes, isn't it? Resurgence of infection. Be prepared for that as you do this, and try to keep striking that balance. And I think that is what is likely might happen in our case as well. That we may see perhaps relaxation.
So it sounds to me
really
like
because I'm not privy to some of those discussions, that lead to those decisions. But just as we have seen in many other countries, economies are hurting, and something needs to be done. It's we're moving to almost 3 months, isn't it?
True.
Since, over 2 months are over, at least 2 months.
Yeah, since we got our first case.
We're put in place. Yeah.
Let's talk about the care of those people who have tested positive in the isolation centers. And yesterday, the CS started intimating that you may want to start rolling out the protocols on home-based care.
Absolutely.
Because now what you're saying is you've seen the number of people who are coming to the facilities and they are not deteriorating in terms of their condition. They are all remaining asymptomatic until they go home. But if we go into that, enforcement of home, if we roll out home-based care, how are we going to enforce that? How are we going to make sure that the people who test positive and you tell them stay at home so that you don't spread the virus are actually going to be able to stay at home, bearing in mind the knowledge that we have from the quarantine the quarantine calls?
Yes. And that is where when the CS was talking, and we have also stated before, there has to be a level of personal responsibility. People now understand. The public should by now understand the things we have been preaching, that this is something that has to be done by every Kenyan taking on a responsibility alongside government authorities and working with the government authorities. Allowing people to go home, I think, it has many advantages. It has the advantage of, one, decongesting these facilities so that those who really need it, those who clinically progress in disease, have a place in those facilities. It makes no sense to put somebody who is almost unaffected, to occupy a bed when another person might need that bed.
Need later.
But this person who you are planning to move somewhere else is still a danger in the sense they can spread the virus.
Exactly.
Right? And so that person, I think there has to be a level of responsibility on the individual, on the community, and the family of that person. You need to understand, even if that person, you are able to put him in a place in his home, he has to understand. The family has to understand. They need to be protected from him. He needs to understand. He needs to protect the family because he is a source of the virus.
But personally, Dr. Rashid,
that is something we need to impart on Kenyans.
Dr. Rashid, you're a Kenyan. We are Kenyans. We know one another. Do you have confidence that this is going to be effective? Asking people, when you test positive, just stay at home and contain yourself within a certain environment.
What we hope to do is even government can use some of its machinery just to monitor if this can be done, because we have systems. We have in the healthcare system we have, for example, community health workers at those mashinani levels, people who work with the community, workers belonging to that community who know every household. If we activate those community health workers, if we activate our security system at that level, which is the Nakuru system and all of that, I think we have a chance that this thing can work. And if we then raise the sensitivity and knowledge of people at that level on what it means when you're sent to quarantine, not only for that individual, but for his family, for his family, and then community at large. I think it is possible.
Okay.
And it is the only way that we can go, because we will be overwhelmed if we start putting, and the numbers keep rising, and we start occupying these beds when, critically sick people might need it. Yeah. So we need, and I want to plead with you as media, the Fourth Estate, because you have a big role too in educating and informing people on how to behave if we go that way and begin to implement. I think it's not an if, I think it's a question of we will do it, and it is coming, and people need to be prepared, and people need to be educated, and I think there is an opportunity for you to help us.
Sure, that's very clear. Dr. Rashid, now on the point of curfew, and I know that it's a contention that a lot of people had, to ask the question from your point of view, where do you see this as really being an intervention measure to curbing the spread of COVID amongst Kenyans, and saying that, all right, if you're at home for a certain period of time, what we do is that we interrupt the progression, and how exactly does that work?
I think experience has shown, because you see, curfew is almost standard procedure in this response. Almost every country that has this virus has imposed one form or other of curfew. Extreme curfew, of course, 24-hour curfew is what we call the lockdown, like what happened in Wuhan and other places, isn't it? And many other countries. So that is necessary, because the moment you interrupt the engagement of people, interacting with each other, you have been able to strike a blow against the virus. We have a partial curfew.
Yes.
And the reason we have a partial curfew again is because of that delicate balance I talked about, isn't it?
Yep.
That delicate balance, because we are a country in the developing world. Our circumstances are very, very different from a country like the US or the UK or Italy, or even Korea, isn't it?
Yeah.
The lifestyles of people there are entirely different, isn't it?
True.
Yeah.
We cannot apply exactly what is being done in those places in our setting, because then we would be creating much, much bigger socio-economic problems, isn't it? But we have to have that balance. The curfew, we have seen, is working, because it does stop that movement of people. Some of the places where transmission is usually very high is in places where people gather after hours, entertainment facilities.
Yeah.
Places like that. By putting in that curfew, you actually stop that.
Okay.
The other fact that we must also understand is that maybe the reason why we are seeing what we were talking about earlier, that we have different trajectory in Africa on this. In Kenya, our population demographic is very different. We have a youth bulge, isn't it?
True.
Most of our those are the people who are active. Those are the people who also will be symptomatic. Those are the people who are going to be patronizing many of these facilities,
the social places,
during those hours. Yes. So I think that does work, because if you interrupt that, then you're still able to at least give a blow to the virus.
To the virus.
Yeah.
Dr. Rashid Aman, Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Health, we thank you very much for speaking to us today. And
my pleasure.
A good job that you are doing at the ministry and the NAC, and we keep urging you to do the right thing all the time for the benefit of the people.
Thank you
very much,
once again, I'm appealing to listeners and fellow citizens. This is a war that we have to fight together, and we will encounter very many challenges and inconveniences. We have to make sacrifices, but it's what we have to do if we are to beat this virus.
Right.
Asante sana.
Yeah? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
So you get your answer. Why night curfew was important in Kenya.
Got it.
It's to stop the mosquitoes.
Thank you.
It's basically putting a mosquito net
around this. Yeah.
Yep. The Ministry of Health has said the vast majority of the people who have tested positive are within a certain age bracket. And this age bracket is the most active age bracket. And they're the ones that are transmitting the virus. So, and that's why they call them mosquitoes. They're not affected themselves. They don't even know that they have it, but they're just passing on to others.
It only makes sense. Sure.
So it had to. So, what do you think will happen tomorrow as we conclude?
I think that
fellow Kenyans say.
Well, no, definitely there will be a release of some, but it's not going to be open season and free for all. That's for sure. And I think there's still some things that are happening now that will be carried forward, at least for a particular period of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fellow Kenyans, I also expect the same, that the cessation of movement into and out of Nairobi will stay in force. Maybe Mombasa will stay in force. Probably other counties may be released. But at the same time, the message from the president will be very clear that this war will be won by you and I. It's not a government fight, it's a you and I fight. And if we observe the measures, if we take up the discipline of fighting COVID-19, then we together shall beat it. But if we don't, then we might find ourselves going into the Rwanda route of a proper lockdown of the country. and we don't want to get there. So you and I.
Yep. But we have to do what in all things? Give thanks.
Say that.
I told you I was going to remember.
In everything,
give thanks.
We give thanks. Mm-hmm. Today's proverb, if you hear a madman talking, wait for a minute and you'll soon hear what makes people think that he's mad. Just wait for a minute, listen to him, make the judgment yourself. Thank you very much for tuning into The Situation Room this week. Join us again next week, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Nduwakwa Eric Latif signing off. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.
Spice up your life.